Welcome to the official Texas Sports Unfiltered pregame show. I am BK Brad Kellner, joined by Zay Collier today. The Buck is sick. He will be back with us soon, but Zay is here. We've got Trey Elling behind the scenes producing today's pregame show, and we are live from Covert in Bee Cave, this beautiful facility we're set up in the Covert Bee Cave Studios. Many thanks to them for having us out today and for every Texas Longhorn game day. If you're looking for a new or pre-owned car, truck, or SUV, there is no better place to go than right here in Covert Bee Cave. We are grateful for their sponsorship, and we hope to see all of you out here sometime very, very soon. It's finally here. September 9th, 2023. Zay, a day that Texas fans have had marked on their calendar for a long, long time. Really, ever since the way the game went down in Austin, I think Texas fans have marked this date looking for revenge against the Alabama Crimson Tide. It is finally here. Number 11, Texas. Number 3, Alabama. Just under 2.5 hours away from kickoff. We're ready to roll, baby. How you doing?
My dog. I got to dap you up, man. I got to dap you up. I've been waiting for this day for a long time. Texas fans have been waiting for this day for a long time. Everybody in college football have been waiting for this day for a long time, and it's finally here. All the talking, which we're going to get 2 hours in, but all the talking and the few hours is going to end, and these guys are going to settle it on the field. And 2 big-time blue bloods. One has been relevant these last decade. One has not been. So that one that has not been, we're trying to let them, or we're trying to see if they can be relevant and win this game. And we'll see what happens, man. Very excited.
Yeah, I saw one of the most painful graphics I've ever seen on College Game Day earlier today. They had shown these 2 programs and their successes since that 2010 national championship game, of course, at the end of the 2009 season. Since then, Alabama has 5 national championships. Texas has 5 losing seasons. Like, that's where these 2 teams are. Alabama has dominated the sport of college football. That sort of championship kind of elevated them into that category, and they've just been dominant ever since. And obviously, Texas just hasn't been able to get out of its own way since that game went down the way that it did. So, you're right. I mean, a massive opportunity for Texas to, I know every Texas fan hates the "we're back" conversation, but you want to send a message to the college football world that, hey, you're not a laughingstock anymore. Hey, that you are a force to be reckoned with. And hey, we're ready for this move to the SEC next year. You've got a golden opportunity to do so. It's not going to be easy. Nick Saban has lost 8 games at home in the course of his Alabama career. He lost 3 of them in his first season back in 2007. He's only lost 5 in the last 15-plus seasons since then. So you've got to go into the lion's den and slay the dragon that is Nick Saban. But it's an opportunity for Texas, once again, to make a statement. Steve Sarkisian has called this a benchmark game to kind of show where Texas is as a program. It is all of that. There is no way to oversell this game, Zay. It is incredibly important and a massive, massive opportunity that awaits the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, Sark, I know Nick Saban's your mentor, but he ain't daddy. You know what I'm saying? You can't look at him like that, like a lot of other assistants that have been under him have. And Kirby Smart, he definitely has the potion right now on assistants, knowing how to kick Nick Saban's ass. And Sark, he could be a part of that too. They've done a really good job recruiting. They've done a really good job of getting guys out of the transfer portal. Now in year 3, we just got to bank on the development of those guys that you brought in. You brought in all the guys. You've been hype about them. You talk about this is your culture, your terminology, philosophy, everything's on point. They get that. They're ready to go, but can you make the adjustments in game? Now, a lot of Texas fans are worried about, including myself, those, second half adjustments, understanding that, hey, you're going to have to run the ball sometime. Like, the dude didn't do it when he needed to with a guy that went first round last year, which I also saw on College Game Day, BK. They had a big-ass list. You know how the haters be out there game day and stuff for the fans of the respective team where they're at. Alabama, they had a big-ass list. One side, it had all the first-rounders that Bama had, all of them. From Tua, Mac Jones, all those guys. Then on the right side, it was Bijan Robinson by himself in like the last decade and some change. So, yeah, this means a lot recruiting-wise, respect wise. And like you said, is this team ready to make that move to the SEC? Today will be a big test, and we'll kind of see what happens from that.
Yeah, Texas obviously has other goals and bigger goals here in the 2023 season. But as of right now, this is the last opportunity that Texas can prove its mettle against an SEC team before going into the SEC. Now, hey, maybe the postseason happens and Texas goes up against an SEC team in a bowl game, but this is the chance for Texas against the biggest of dogs. And I know what Georgia's done the last couple of years, but since Nick Saban took over in Tuscaloosa, Alabama has been the cream of the crop in the SEC. This is a chance to go in there and really give your fan base, your locker room, confidence that you're ready to make this move into the toughest conference in college football. So we're at a point now, Zay, where, look, if Texas covers and makes this a 4-quarter game and this goes down to the wire, then there are some people out there who will be like, hey, that was a strong performance by Texas to do that in Alabama's house in a night game with College game day there. That's a big, big deal for them to show up and at least make things interesting. I don't think Texas fans are thinking like that. And the guys in that locker room aren't thinking like that either. They're going to Tuscaloosa for one thing and one thing only, and that's to leave with a W.
Yeah, no moral victories. I mean, this is the University of Texas. That could be for some of the, lower class schools, but here you expect to win every game. You expect to always be in the college football playoff and win Big 12. Now going to the SEC, being up for the title. Like, that's what it's all about. That's the expectation and aspirations that you have to have. And yeah, I'm at the point to where no matter how they lose this game, if they were to lose, I'd be disappointed.
Yep.
I really would, because, hey, I don't see Calvin Ridley on the other side. I don't see Tua, Jalen Hurts on the other side. They got a lot of unproven guys on that Alabama team, and Jalen Milroe, he's a big part of that. Like, yeah, he looked good against Middle Tennessee, breaking records, 3 touchdowns through the air, 2 touchdowns on the ground. But can he do it against this Pete Kwiatkowski defense that's really improved and wants to prove a lot by showing that, hey, we're a dominant defense, one of the best in the country? Again, this is a big test today, and I think they're up for it.
Yeah, I hope so. And you kind of talked about Alabama being inexperienced. I pulled up the Phil Steele College Football Magazine a little bit earlier today, and I wrote this note down, Zay. Alabama ranks 127th out of 133 teams in terms of returning experience from last season. Texas is in the 50s. So it's not like Texas has, they're not amongst the nation leaders in terms of returning production from 2022. But when you compare what Texas brought back from last season to what Alabama brought back from last season, it's a night and day difference. Like, we've talked about it a lot on all of the shows here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. I strongly believe this is the most talented team that Texas has had since 2009. Right. And I also can make a strong argument that this might be the least proven team that Alabama has had since then. Now, to say that they're not talented, that'd be wrong. We're still talking about the 3rd-ranked team in the country. We're still talking about a team that year in and year out ranks in the top 2 or 3 in terms of recruiting classes. So there's always going to be talent at Alabama. There's no doubt about that. But the proven talent, right? They lost the number 1 pick in the draft at quarterback. They lost the first defensive player selected in the draft last year. Only 10 returning starters combined for this Alabama team. They've got a lot of unproven commodities, especially on offense, and obviously at the most important position on the field with Jalen Milroe making just his 3rd career collegiate start. Like, it feels like Texas has more going for it than it has in a long time, Zay. Once again, like, you got to remember perspective here. We're still talking about Alabama, a team that started the year in the top 5, a team that's now ranked in the top 3. But it feels like Alabama maybe has more question marks this early in a season than they've had in a long, long time, which makes this an even more intriguing chance that the Longhorns have tonight.
That Alabama team last year, they win the Sugar Bowl, beat the brakes off of Kansas State, then they win over 10 games. And that's a disappointing season for them. Like, that's their standard. Like, well, that's what I'm saying. Like, must be just absolute beautiful to have that type of expectations. But yeah, I'm with you. This is a grand opportunity for Sark's crew because there's so much on that other side that's just unproven. And there's a lot of freshmen out there that are going to get clocked. Now, those freshmen were high blue chip players when they came into Tuscaloosa, but you got to test those guys like Caden Proctor, number 1 tackle in the nation in 2023 coming out of Iowa. Like, this is the biggest game he's played in his life.
Yep.
So if you're Ethan Berg, if you're Baron Sorrell, all those edge rushing guys, we're attacking him and then some. Show us what you're made of. Now, he has all the intangibles to be great. Again, he's a 5-star player when you're 6'7", around 350. We saw what Kelvin Banks was last year. So this guy could easily be something like that. And then on the other side, Caleb Downs, the safety that everybody's been raving about, that's supposed to be the next big thing. That we had John Talty on, Bama Insider for 24/7 Sports. This dude compared them to Mika Fitzpatrick. So, I watch Mika Fitzpatrick every Sunday do it big for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And that guy, when he was back there for the Crimson Tide, he was an absolute dog. So if this guy's getting comparisons to him and what he did as a freshman, then that's scary. But it's his second game of his career. How much do you expect of him? If you're Steve Sarkisian, are you going in looking to attack those guys? Remember, they have a couple of guys in that secondary, Moore and Key. Both of those guys are a little gimpy. I expect them to go tonight. But when they have such good corners on the outside, and Kool-Aid McKinstry and, Terrion Arnold.
Yep.
Yeah. On the outside, I'd be a little weary on testing those guys first and then check out that middle when you got really good slot guys like Xavier Worthy, Jordan Whittington, and even JT Sanders. Throw him in the mix. You saw the pass that he caught for a touchdown against Rice. I think they need to attack that middle first and then see what happens with the run game after, before they test the guys that are going to the NFL next year, like Kool-Aid McKinstry.
Yeah, Alabama obviously 1-0 on the young season. They looked very, very impressive in a 56-7 victory over Middle Tennessee State. There were a couple of flaws that we saw from Alabama last weekend. Things didn't look perfect. You brought up their offensive line. Their offensive line looked better than Texas's offensive line, right? Like, that was one of, if not the biggest talking point for Texas fans coming off of the Longhorns Week 1 victory against Rice, was just the lack of quality we saw from the offensive line, right? I mean, last year's Texas offensive line was a revelation. They were really, really good. And with all 5 starters coming back from last season, and with DJ Campbell, the former 5-star, former top 10 player in the country, getting thrown into the mix, you're thinking, oh man, this offensive line is going to be even better this year than it was last year. And they weren't at all. Alabama's offensive line also had some issues last week. You talked about the freshmen. They have at left tackle. They've got a true sophomore at left guard. Their center, Seth McLaughlin. Alabama fans haven't been too high on what he's done over the course of his Crimson Tide career. And they also, like Texas, looked a little bit vulnerable on the interior of their offensive line. So that goes to what we were talking about, man. Like, there are some unproven commodities on this Alabama team. And Texas, I think, has more proven players. They've got more experience than this Alabama team does right now. So it's a real chance. Now, obviously, Bama's got the crowd on their side, and they've got the better coach in this matchup. No matter how you slice and dice it, you can be the biggest Steve Sarkisian fan of all time. It doesn't matter. They've got the better coach, and they've got the home field advantage. But you could make a case that there are some areas that this Texas team can exploit on this Alabama side tonight.
That's what I'm saying. Don't get daddy. Don't get big daddy, Sark, please. That can't happen, bro. Like, I get it. That's a mentor. Look at it like that, because if that team feeds off of your nervousness of going against your mentor, then that's not a good sign. And I like what he said today on game day. He said, we respect Alabama. We don't fear nobody. That's how you got to look at it. Like, yeah, you respect the guy in front of you, but hey, you got to know your one-on-one matchup, I'm going to win that.
Yep.
Like, it just is what it is. And yeah, if I'm Pete Kwiatkowski in this defense, I'm testing all those guys. Jalen Milroe, you got to test him, make him throw the football, point blank, period. We know he's a freak athlete, just one of a kind type athlete. You do not want to see him in the open field. And they're going to be in a lot of 12 personnel. Tommy Reese coming over from Notre Dame. He loves the tight ends. You saw Mayer go second round last year. He was all-world tight end for Notre Dame. Their tight ends are good over here, like Amari Niblack. He terrifies me probably more than anybody on the offensive side. I don't think he gets enough credit, because this is when he's, become the main starter. I know they like Dupree from Maryland, who's more of a bigger guy, around 6'5", 250, while Niblack is more of a Kyle Pitts build, around 230, 6'3", but he's super athletic. And we saw last year a lot. Texas, when they got attacked in the middle of the field. So those tight ends, they scare me a little bit. And also, we saw last year too, BK, the running quarterback killed Texas. even if, the games were close, like just every running quarterback you played, you basically lost, from Donovan Smith, Texas Tech, now at U of H, to Max Duggan. We know what he could do with his legs, to Spencer Sanders, Oklahoma State. Like, BK at Texas hasn't had the best, history with running quarterbacks. And now Jalen Milroe, he might be more athletic than all of those guys, bringing him down, that's a must. And making him throw and seeing what he could do there, hey, you got to check that out. But you cannot let those guys, Chase McCullin, what he did last year, the 81-yard touchdown, you can't let those big plays happen. And if you contain Jalen Milroe in that run game, Horns have a chance.
Absolutely. Taking a look at the Clean Cause YouTube comment line, a lot of optimism amongst Texas fans going into this game tonight.
That Kool-Aid spike.
Come on, man. It's got to be.
That Kool-Aid spike,
I wish we had some right now. I wish this water bottle in front of me was a little spiked right now.
Be careful, Texas fans. Be careful. I get it, though.
Come on, man. Yeah, the optimism is there. Of course, we have a text line as well if you want to chime in, 512-222-9328. That's 512-222-9328. How about the first text we got during this pregame show? Wreck 'em.
What?
We got a Texas Tech fan in the building. Hey, y'all focus on Oregon, okay? Be thankful Wyoming's not on the schedule for y'all tonight.
Yeah, Joey, you got some problems going down there in Lubbock, and don't run through Lubbock as of right now. So y'all better check that out. And Tech fans, worry about your own damn team.
Yeah, it runs through Laramie right now. That's where the Big 12 seems to run through right now. By the way, we will be giving away a couple of Hat Creek gift cards during today's pregame show. All you have to do is be watching this video, be subscribed to our channel, like the video, and leave a comment. It's as simple as that. And if you do just that, you will be entered for your chance to win one of 2 Hat Creek Burger Company gift cards. Many thanks to Hat Creek for being one of our great sponsors for the pregame and postgame show here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. Of course, we will have a postgame show right after the clock hits 000 tonight. Trey Elling and Kevin Dunn will lead you through that. So obviously, if you want to be a part of some post-game conversation, make sure you are subscribed to us right here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. Trey and KD will give their thoughts. They'll answer your questions on the text line and on the YouTube comment line as well. We've got you covered wall to wall, day and night, right here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. All right, let's hear a little bit from Steve Sarkisian. Trey, we're going to start with cut 10 because that makes sense to not start with cut number 1. We're going to go to number 10. This is from that interview you referenced earlier, Zay. Sark was on College Game Day this morning. He was getting booed by the Alabama fans the entire time.
He's basically a traitor. They expect him to stay there forever.
Right.
Like not to move on and do his own thing.
Because everybody does that.
Yeah, because that's just the norm in college football, especially when you have success.
Yeah, exactly. They totally forget that Sark led them to their last national championship. But, he's the enemy tonight. Maybe they root for Sark in other games, but obviously not in this one today. Sark was asked by one of the game day guys, what makes you think that your team is ready for this challenge tonight?
I think one of the keys for us, we've got some real good veterans on this team who've been with us now for 3 years that have really embody our culture. We've got a really good influx of young, hungry players that this is why they chose to come to the University of Texas to play in this environment. And I think the key for us, we respect the University of Alabama. As you guys know how I feel about Coach Saban, the job that he's done there, their players. But the key to the drill is we don't fear them, and we can't fear anybody. We respect all, we fear none, and that's the mindset going into the ball game.
There you go, Zay. That's exactly what you were referencing a couple of minutes ago. We respect all, but we fear none. That's the mindset Texas has to have, not only going into the game. Zay, they're going to get punched in the mouth early. Like, that's just inevitable. That happens when you're going up against Nick Saban. That really happens when you're going up against Nick Saban at Bryant-Denny Stadium. They're going to hit you in the mouth. A lot of teams, they don't get up off the mat. Right? They can't bounce back. Texas is going to have to bounce back and then start throwing back too. Like, that's going to be the difference in this game. If this is going to be a 4-quarter game that's tough and tight throughout, Texas has to withstand the adversity. They can't get scared. They can't cower when Alabama scores a touchdown and that awesome fight song is playing and they've got 100,000 going nuts under the lights at Bryant-Denny and you get that crazy neon light show with that crimson and white out there. You can't lose sight of what's at stake, and you can't get lost in the moment. You've got to be able to bounce back in a better way than Texas has been able to do more often than not when Sark's been the head coach. Zay, this team is 3-6 in true road games under Steve Sarkisian. And none of those games have happened against Alabama and Nick Saban, mind you. So way too often in Steve Sarkisian's Texas career. You can go back to his USC days. You can go back to his Washington days and find some similar unfortunate trends. His teams have cowered in big moments on the road. They've got to withstand some adversity tonight because they're going to get a ton of it.
Yeah, they definitely do. And that's, if they do make big plays, when you get into that red zone, can you stop them and force threes instead of sixes? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's a must. Like, that's a win, in my opinion. If they get all the way down there and you can stop that offense from getting in the end zone and you can go down on the other side and score some points, and obviously that all depends on Quinn Ewers and how he's going to play, then what you just said, they'll be ready to capitalize on that situation. And, yeah, it's just – there's a lot of young guys in this game that are also going to be tested. I love Malik Muhammad. I love what he brings to the table, but when he gets thrown out there, just don't get caught up in some uncharacteristic things because you're hype and you want to make a big play. Like, that is very scary and very dangerous for young guys like that in their mind, they've been dreaming about this moment their whole lives. Like, they're thinking, I'm going to be that guy to change the game. Yep. And you go out and you don't stick to the game plan and you do something out of the norm. Like, oh, I think I can pick this off. Let me go gamble. And he hits you on the stop and go route and then you're stuck. Like, you don't want any of those problems. Anthony Hill, I'm definitely going to be watching him and how Pete Kwiatkowski uses him, just because he's another young guy. Yes, he has a lot of, optimism and hype coming in, and a lot of Longhorn fans are ready for him to just straight up start, but he's just a freshman.
Yep.
So like I said, on the other side with Proctor, the left tackle for the Crimson Tide, and Caleb Downs, the safety for him, those guys are going to get tested too. Anthony Hill's going to get tested. CJ Baxter is going to get tested. Dude, how healthy are you? I know Sark said he's ready in the presser this week, but are you healthy to play against another Rice team, which you didn't look too great? Yes, you had that run that you got hurt on, but again, a lot of mistakes against Rice. Or are you healthy enough to play against Bama? Two different types of healthies.
Yep.
Guys, once he gets hit in the mouth, will he be able to respond? And will Sark be able to trust the running game and try to stick with it? Because, that defensive line, there's been a lot of changes on that other side for Bama. So many good matchups, so many different key points, so many connections in this game going back to 2009 and the national championship, and the fact that, the Crimson Tide, they've rose while Texas has declined. So there's so much at stake. And, yeah, man, I'm fired up.
I am too. And yeah, you talk about the run game for Texas. Look, I don't really care who it is. If it's CJ Baxter, if it's Jonathan Brooks, if it's Jaden Blue, I'd prefer all three of those guys to have good nights tonight. But they've got to find a way to run the ball more effectively than they did last year. 33 carries for 79 yards. That game was at home. And obviously you had Bijan Robinson and you had Roshan Johnson in that game. And Texas just couldn't do enough on the ground. And they really needed it once Quinn Ewers went down, right? I mean, Ewers was picking that Alabama secondary apart in the first quarter. Hudson Card came in, and there just wasn't that same rhythm and flow to the Texas offense for the rest of the game. They tried. I'll give Sark some credit. He didn't completely abandon the run game. And look, Texas had a lead for a lot of last year's game, so it wouldn't have made sense to abandon the run game. But you feel like they've got to find a way to be a little bit more productive on the ground than they were against Alabama last year to really have a chance to run the offense they want to run and obviously pull off this upset.
That's why last week scares you so much, BK. Yeah. Against Rice, and me and Chip, we talked about all week, and Rice threw everything at them, and they weren't expecting it and stuff like that. I don't give a damn. It's Rice.
It's Rice.
It doesn't matter what they threw at you. You should be able to figure it out. Quinn Ewers, he hit the ground way too much last week. And the fact that he lost 20 pounds, he's light in the ass now. So, when he was doughy, at least, him taking those shots, I know you ain't got no, meat on them bones, but when you take them shots, it feels a little different than when you got the rock hard abs and you flexing and that real sassy picture with the rest of the quarterbacks and stuff. Yeah. Cool. I like that he's in better shape. I think it's going to be better for him when he scrambles like we saw against Rice. And, he's a little bit more athletic, a little bit quicker and stuff, but still, he hit the ground way too much. And you talked about the interior lineman. I'm okay with Kelvin Banks. Even though he gave up a sack last week, I'm still good with him. Christian Jones, I'm good with that. 6-year senior, I'm confident in him too. But the interior guys, Hayden, Connor, Jake Majors, DJ Campbell, Cole Hudson, thank goodness that he's back. Can those guys be productive and move people to give Steve Sarkisian the confidence to run the football? And you're right. I don't care who it is either. I thought that Sark hit a lot last week, which, you don't want to show your hand, and it's Rice, so you don't want to show your hand, very vanilla. But Keelan Robinson got to touch that rock a lot more.
Yep.
I love the play where he was a decoy and went in motion, and they did the fake to him on one side and hit the screen for Jonathan Brooks for the touchdown. Beautiful play, but he's just too good and too dynamic to not have the ball in his hands more. And plus him being an Alabama guy, this game means a lot to him. So yeah, I'm expecting Sark to throw everything at Alabama today, and yeah, their defense, they better be ready for it.
Yeah, let's hear from Steve Sarkisian. We'll go with cut 5 here, Trey. This is from Monday, talking about the offensive line, right? Because that was a huge cause for concern for Texas fans, despite the win and despite Texas being in control pretty much for all 4 quarters against Rice last weekend. The offensive line was a big negative takeaway that I think most Texas fans had. Here's Sark talking about the offensive line play against Rice.
I thought Christian Jones had a nice game at tackle. He's probably the cleanest performer on the offensive line. I felt like the rest of the guys kind of took turns with some simple errors, things that reverted back to kind of training camp stuff that, like I said, I knew we could fix and that we'll get fixed this week. The thing I didn't love our physicality. I feel like we're a more physical football team than the way we played. And so that's a real challenge to our guys. There's a style and manner in which we want to play the game up front. And we've got to become more physical. We've got to play more physical. And I think that comes when you remove some of the hesitation. Like I said, Saturday after the ball game, I felt like we were a little bit slow and a little bit hesitant trying to kind of diagnose what we were trying to do up front. And in reality, we got to go cut it loose, and we got to play a brand and style of football that is ours.
Yeah, a couple of thoughts on that. I mean, he's dead right about the physicality. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and go total hyperbole and say Texas got bullied by Rice, because that didn't happen. But Texas did not impose its will nearly enough on the offensive line of scrimmage as I wanted to see, right? Like, that's usually when you're talking about a team like Texas going up against a team like Rice, that's where you notice the biggest difference is on the lines of scrimmage. We obviously saw that with the Texas defensive line, right? They had their way with the Rice offensive line for all 4 quarters, and that's why the defense dominated the way that it did. But the offensive line, like they were playing nice. Like, they didn't have that killer mentality. They were almost treating Rice like, you guys are a bunch of losers. We feel bad for you, so we're going to be nice to you guys. Like, no, that's not what the bully's supposed to do. The bully's supposed to beat the crap out of the nerd.
Yeah,
right?
give him the swirly, throw him in the trash.
Exactly.
Like
OG
stuff.
You need your offensive lineman to have that mentality. Kids, don't be doing that to other kids in school. But that's what you want from your offensive line is, like, not only do you want to block somebody, you want to pancake them on every single play. You want to make them scared of you on every single play. And the Texas offensive line just played with this lack of physicality that, it's so easy to do this. And it was so easy to do this just watching that Rice game. It's like, if they do this against Rice, how the hell are they going to look better against Alabama on the road? So that physicality absolutely has to be there. And you brought up the part where Sark was talking about how Rice did a bunch of things that they weren't expecting them to do. That kind of ticked me off, because a lot of what Rice did in that game last weekend is what Baylor did to Texas in that regular season finale last year, where Baylor just implemented a bunch of twists and stunts, and it was maybe the worst offensive line performance the Longhorns had all season long. Like, that's what Baylor did. And I assume Mike Bloomgren, the head coach of Rice, was like, oh, that worked. Let's try that. And he did that. So that, like, hearing Sark say we weren't expecting that tells me that, number one, they didn't self-scout well enough. They should have thought that, because somebody did that and had success doing that last year, maybe they're going to try that. And number two, it leads me to think that still might be an issue. And maybe this Texas coaching staff didn't spend enough time this offseason trying to learn how to deal with those false fronts and those twists and stunts that we saw from Rice last week.
Yeah, like, Sark, how do you expect me to be physical when I'm confused and I don't know my assignment?
Right.
Like, who am I supposed to block if I don't know where to go? You saw it with Kelvin Banks. He looked on that one where Quinn Ewers got sacked and he hit the dude, and all of a sudden the dude just went around him and he looked like he was about to go somewhere else. Like, guys were just lost last week. So yeah, if you're Nick Saban, you're looking at the Rice film, you're looking at film from last season, like the Baylor film, and saying, we could do that, and we have better guys that could get it done. So Yeah, the offensive line, me and Chip Brown talked about him and Horns 24/7. They had a full ranking before the season of all the position groups for Texas, 1 through 9. And he had the offensive line last with everybody coming back. And in a way, that's a good thing because that shows, how deep you are as a whole, that if everybody comes back on your offensive line, if that's your weak spot, in a way, that's a good thing, but then it's not. Like they're last for a reason. And yeah, they cannot get exploited. Like Quinn Ewers, him going down last year, hopefully he doesn't have any PTSD from that. But yeah, they need to get nasty, BK. They need to be pissed off like, oh, Dallas Turner, when I see you, I'm going to give you a shot. One of my favorite moments in sports history is when Kobe, back when he was with the 2008 Olympic team, Pau Gasol, they were playing Spain in the championship game. Kobe told the whole crew, yo, I'm about to go knock his ass out just to send a message. Yeah. Just to send a message. They're like, yo, that's your teammate. You playing with the Lakers. I don't care. We're going against them right now. I'm going to send the message. Look, I don't want anybody getting hurt out there. Let's keep it as clean as possible. But if you see Dallas Turner with his head turned and it's live, I'm going to go knock his ass out just to let him know, yo, we here. What you did last year, Bush League. That was a dirty hit. It was. The way they clean things up and try to protect the quarterback now, that was a foul hit. And we owe you one. It's been a year and some change. We owe you one, bro. Yeah. So I'm going to light your ass up and try to make it as legal as possible. If it's not,
bring in a third offensive lineman. Get him to go.
That's why you're deep in the first place. Yeah. That's why you're deep in the first place. Yeah, bring NATO in or somebody that's cool doing that. But yeah, you got to impose your will. You cannot back down. You got to show that you're scared. And yeah, it's hard for the offensive linemen to be physical when they're confused.
Yeah, there was a great piece of audio from Steve Sarkisian on the game day interview he did earlier today. And I'm so mad because ESPN posted the interview on YouTube and they screwed up the audio. So this part didn't make it in the video. So we don't have this, but Sark was talking about something similar to what you just said, Zay. Like, we can't throw jabs. We've got to throw haymakers. Like, just jabs are not enough against this team. Like, we have to land some serious shots against that team in their house to really have a chance to win. And I don't know if he was referencing what you were talking about. Yeah. Like, hey, if you got a chance to go after Dallas Turner at the end of a play right before the whistle, then take that chance. I don't know if he meant it like that, but he's like, man, we got to be smart, but we also have to hit them with some big plays on offense and defense. This can't be dink and dunk. This can't just be 2-3 yards at a time. Like, we've got to find a way to actually make them scared a little bit in their house. Plant that seed of doubt that, no, this is not the same Texas team that you saw last year. No, this is not the same Texas team that's been there since 2009. This is a different bunch. We're not just here to hang around. We're here to come in here and win this game in your house.
That's what scares me, BK. The fact that he said that, like, is he gonna, not take what the defense gives him? Because we know Sark. We know what he wants to do. He wants to take that deep shot. He's going to take that deep shot. But sometimes it's not there at all. And is he telling 3, bruh, look at the check downs. JT Sanders, wide open. Jordan Whittington might be wide open. It's not always going to be Xavier Worthy, especially with this Kool-Aid McKinstry matchup. Yeah. Like, this is a different type of corner. I know he's not going to follow him around the whole time. That's not necessarily Saban's style, but he's going to be on him a lot of part of this game. You want to put your best players on their best players. So I expect Kool-Aid to be on X a lot. Kool-Aid. And we got to make him look like Tang in this game. You remember Tang? Yes. Bootleg ass Kool-Aid, the little bitter with that crazy ass monkey. Kool-Aid.
You weren't drinking that growing up, were you?
I probably had a couple times because you always tried to see if it compared to Kool-Aid, and it never did. No, it was definitely the bootleg version. But that's what I want to see. I don't want to see the Kool-Aid version. I want to see Tang. With no sugar in it, 0 calories. Like, we got to expose that dude. But he's supposed to be the first cornerback taken in 2024. So be careful. But yeah, Sark has to show us that you got to take what the defense gives you at the end of the day. I get it. You want to hit the deep ball. I get it. The deep ball allows the intermediate game to come into play, the short game, the run game. I get all that. But sometimes attacking it the way they do, man, at the times that they do it, just doesn't make much sense. And Saban, they're going to be ready for it, but they got to capitalize on the right time. And we haven't seen that yet with Quinn Ewers or Sark.
Well, let's get back into that in a second, because I really want to talk about Quinn Ewers in this Texas passing game, because that's going to go a long way into determining whether or not Texas can get this dub tonight. But let's do the first of our scoreboard updates, brought to you by our friends at Moonshine Patio Bar and Grill. Couple of finals from earlier today. How about Coach Prime? The Colorado Buffaloes now 2-0. They have doubled their win total from 2022. They whooped up on Nebraska 36-14. The final score. This game was close for most of the first half. It was 0-0 like midway through the second quarter. Then Colorado turned it on. Shedeur Sanders got some things rolling. That offense kind of picked up where it left off last week. Colorado, an impressive victory over Nebraska. Nebraska now 0-2. A couple of other finals. Kansas State looking very impressive in their win over Troy, 42-13, the final there. Utah trailing the whole day in Waco. They score a touchdown with just under 2 minutes to go to tie the game at 13. They force an interception and then score the game-winning touchdown with just 17 seconds left. They go into Waco and beat Baylor 20-13. Some controversy on a no call as Baylor was going for a Hail Mary in the end zone on the final play of the game. No call, no win for Baylor. The Bears now 0-2. Utah gets an impressive road victory. A couple of games going on right now. How about Notre Dame? A lot of people thought they were on upset alert going to Raleigh to take on NC State today. In the words of Lee Corso, not so fast, my friend. Notre Dame 38, NC State 17, just under 6 minutes to go in that one. Tulane, number 24, with a 17-10 lead over 20th ranked Ole Miss. And last but not least, the Aggies in action against Miami. Just started the second quarter in Coral Gables. The Aggies with a 17-14 lead over the U. A lot of points early on. There's your first of three scoreboard updates we're going to do. Brought to you by our friends at Moonshine Patio Bar and Grill. Moonshine Patio Bar and Grill is a place that takes you back to a simpler time. Comfortable and familiar, relaxed and easygoing. Moonshine greets guests like family, serving up great cooking with an innovative take on classic American comfort food. Moonshine's menu satisfies even the big city tastes. And our friends at Moonshine are celebrating 20 years in the Austin area, and they want to thank you for all of the support over the past 2 decades. I love this place. They've got fantastic dinner. Their weekend brunch is ridiculously good. Go see them for an incredible dining experience. 2 locations, downtown and up north in Avery Ranch. Go to moonshinegrill.com for more information. All right, let's hear from Steve Sarkisian talking about Quinn Ewers. We'll start with cut number 7 here, please, Trey. Sark, this is from his Thursday press conference, the final time he met with the local Austin media before the team made its way to Tuscaloosa. Sark was asked about Quinn's week at practice. Here's Steve Sarkisian.
I mean, Quinn's had a really good week. I think he has a firm understanding of the game plan and what we're trying to do, whether it's our base down stuff, whether it's, third down, fourth down, and obviously in the red area. I think it's tough to go beat teams like that on the road without your quarterback playing well, so I think that, naturally, hopefully we can find a rhythm for him and create some opportunities to take some shots, and that rapport with his receivers can shine through, because that you got to play a complete game. You can't be a one-dimensional team. And like I said, I think we're a really versatile team. I think Alabama's a very versatile team. Both teams can win games a variety of ways, but naturally, you need a complete game to go and try to win a game like this.
Zay, what do you expect from Quinn Ewers tonight? In the first quarter against Bama last year, he was really, really good. 9 of 12 for 134 yards. I mean, Alabama's defense had no answers. Obviously, Ewers gets hurt at the end of the first quarter, and that was the last we saw from him in that game. Last week against Rice, the stat line looks pretty good, but the eye test, a little inconsistent. Every Texas fan has been talking about the deep balls and the lack of success that Texas had last week with those. Wasn't the best debut for Quinn Ewers, but the good news is he didn't turn the football over. Did have 3 passing touchdowns and a rushing touchdown, and Texas obviously won the game going away. What do you expect to see from Quinn Ewers tonight? Do you think he can do what he did in the first quarter last year against Alabama? Or are Texas fans going to be having more questions about Ewers after this one this evening?
I think if he has a clean pocket, he's going to be good tonight. I think he's at his best, like probably 98% of all quarterbacks when they have a clean pocket, and he's not going to be rattled. One thing that worried me earlier this week, Chip and Zay, he said that when they interviewed Quinn Ewers, the dude looked a little bit rattled, like just a little bit not where you would want your quarterback to be going into Alabama this weekend. And I'm not saying that, he's scared or anything, but Chip's been around a long time. I think he could tell how people are and how people present themselves, day to day, and just his attitude and, his energy. But yeah, if he has a clean pocket and if Sark puts him in the right situations, and I know they're going to throw that deep ball, but allow him to throw it, the underneath stuff, to those running backs, to guys like Jordan Whittington. Like, Jordan Whittington has to have a big game. He has to. I think he's a mismatch nightmare for the guys that they have. Again, Moore being banged up, Key being banged up. Their running back core for Bama, some of those guys, they're a little unproven too. I think they have a lot of potential. Deontay Lawson, he's their main, Mike Quarter linebacker, and he could really go, but this is his first season fully starting, taking over for To'o last year, which To'o was solid for him. So Quinn Ewers could definitely have a big game, but if that offensive line is confused by what Alabama's going to throw at him, like Steele's going to throw some stuff at him. He's not stupid. He's going to take what he saw at Rice and what he saw last year from why this offensive line struggled, and he's going to implement that for his defense. So if they get after Quinn Ewers, if he's running around trying to throw the ball on the ground and all that crap that we saw last year when he got pressured, it's going to be a long night for the Texas Longhorns. But if they could keep him clean, if he could step into his throws, be locked in and understand that the deep ball doesn't have to always be there. Like, number one, I get it. He was your roommate. He's your dog. He ain't always got to be the one you throw it to.
Yeah.
Adonai Mitchell is here for a reason.
Yep.
Like, that dude.
Well, he's not here to block.
He's not. Yeah, he's definitely not here to block.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. That's why he left Georgia. Kirby Smart was probably bitching about blocking and all this stuff. He was like, I won my rings. I'm over this. I'm trying to catch some passes and be in the offense where I could do that. So, yeah, Adonai Mitchell, if he could get going along with Jordan Whittington, JT Sanders also has to have a big game, then this team could succeed. But it's all about keeping Quinn Ewers clean in that pocket.
That's it, man. Ewers needs more help than what he got last week. And I'm not absolving Quinn Ewers of any of the blame for the inconsistencies we saw from him in the first half. Obviously, the third quarter was great. 3 drives, 3 touchdowns. Texas figured something out. And once again, statistically, it turned into a pretty good day for Quinn Ewers. And it was good to see him, after some adversity, not a lot because you were still playing Rice and you still had a double-digit lead going into the locker room. But still, it was nice to see him bounce back and pick things up in the third quarter last week. But the guys around him didn't do enough. Obviously, the offensive line, as you mentioned, Zay, Ewers did not have a clean pocket nearly often enough. He got sacked 3 times. He got hit 4 or 5 times in that first half. Just was unacceptably bad from that group. You had the Jonathan Brooks drop touchdown. I mean, Quinn Ewers couldn't have thrown that ball any better. That should have been an easy walk into the end zone for JB, and he ends up dropping it, and Texas has to settle for that field goal there. You had the play where Ewers hit JT Sanders in the hands, but then Sanders runs into Jordan Whittington. Like, you've got 2 receivers in the same spot in the corner of the end zone, and it's like, well, if Whittington's not there, then it's probably a touchdown instead of a field goal. And Ewers' line and his numbers and the eye test looks a lot better.
Yeah, does JT Sanders, is he not on concussion protocol from when Quinn Ewers nailed him in the head? Like, thank goodness. Like,
yeah,
wow.
I don't know who to blame for that. That one was – it was just sloppy, man. A lot of sloppiness. Once again, not to say like Quinn Ewers was perfect and none of it was his fault. No, some of it was definitely on him, but the 10 guys around him were just not good enough. And that's obviously got to change for the Longhorns going up against this secondary. And what you brought up, Zay, about Kool-Aid, like, you got to be careful testing that dude, man. Like, we know how good Xavier Worthy is, all right? Worthy's expected to be a first-round pick, too. So I'm not saying be scared of Kool-Aid and don't go to your best receiver. Worthy's your best receiver. You should try to find him, but you can't force-feed it, man. Like, last year, there was a lot of force-feeding to Xavier Worthy going on. Now, this Texas receiver room is better this year. It's deeper this year. You talked about A.D. Mitchell. You've got Isaiah Nayor. You've got Jonte Cook. You've got some other dudes who are here that weren't there last year. You've got to be careful to not test number one on their side of the ball too much because he's going to make you pay. So Quinn Ewers has to do a better job of taking what the defense gives him. And I think this has to do with Sark too. Like, I think part of why Texas kept trying to take deep shots last week was because Sark just wanted to like show people, maybe show his team, maybe show Quinn Ewers, maybe show this fan base that, no, we have this in our offense. And we didn't have it last year, but we've been working on it this offseason, and now the explosive play is actually a part of things. It just felt like he tried time and time again just to prove that it could work. You got to be careful because those were painless incompletions last week, Zay. You do that stuff, you underthrow balls against the Alabama secondary, you let them hang in the air like Quinn Ewers did a couple of times last week. Those are game-changing interceptions right there. So if Alabama is saying, hey, we'll give you the short and intermediate throws, you take those short and intermediate throws. I know everybody wants the deep play. Everyone wants that 30-yard, 40-yard, 50-yard, 60-yard touchdown pass, but you've got to be smart. You've got to protect the football. You cannot have those silly turnovers against this Alabama team and expect to have a chance to win.
That's why there's a lot of pressure on Steve Sarkisian. I mean, there is.
Yeah.
What's his record? Like 14-12 since he's been at Texas this last 2 years. That ain't good enough, man. And this is supposed to be the year where things start to change. So it starts with this game. And yeah, I wouldn't say lucky because y'all worked y'all's ass off in recruiting those guys, but hey, you were fortunate to have the Jalen Waddles and the Devontae Smiths and Henry Ruggs and all those big time players that went first round as wide receivers. Like, yes, you got talent here, but there are things that he was only responsible for as the play caller at Alabama. Now here he's the head coach. So sometimes in the back of my mind, BK, it's always, is this too much for him? When you don't see those second half adjustments, it's like, is he worrying about too much as a head coach because he's also calling the play? Sometimes it's just a lot. Again, it's the University of Texas, the expectations, like Mac Brown, had two phones. Homie had two phones, like he was on that dope boy stuff, like two phones because he had to deal with the boosters and he had to deal with Sally. Like it's that type
Kevin
of lifestyle.
Gates before Kevin Gates, you know?
You know what I'm saying? Like he was living like that. It's a different lifestyle here. So sometimes we saw the last two guys, they weren't big enough for it. They just weren't for their own personal reasons. Tom Herman, off the field crap, Charlie Strong, just all the stuff that he had to deal with and stuff that he didn't understand that came with being the head coach at the University of Texas. So as Sark, what separates Sark? Because right now, a lot of Texas fans can say nothing, absolutely nothing. You win this game, a lot separates Sark.
Yep.
And yeah, can he go against his own ego by saying, look, I love the deep ball. I was a quarterback. The BYU days, absolutely glorious. I wish I had Quinn Ewers' arm, but take just the easy dunk and dime, boring stuff, especially with the new clock now, BK. Like, you could run the football and control the game that way because you get the first downs. That thing's still rolling. So the games are shortened, and you know they're going to try to Tommy Reese, those guys on the other side with that 12-man package. They're going to try to do that. They're going to try to run the football with Jalen Milroe and Chase McCullen, and they're going to try to control the game. That's why I think it could get real ugly. Like, I don't expect a high-scoring game. I expect something like we saw last year. So is Sark willing to take what the defense gives him and just say, yo, even though you might know what's coming, it don't matter. We're going to impose our will and just beat you up, and you're just going to have to deal with it.
See, I kind of want Texas to go up tempo tonight. I really do. Like, I think I'm in the minority here. I think a lot of Texas fans are talking about what you're mentioning, like, oh, just, control the clock, keep our offense on the field, keep their offense on the sideline. I'm like, nah, just score. Like, I think this Texas offense is at its best, and I think Sark is at his best as a play caller when he's going quick. And I want to keep that Alabama defense on their toes. It's going to be hot. It's going to be humid. I want to keep them off balance. That's what Texas did a lot in the first quarter last year, right? They were going quick in that first quarter, and Quinn Ewers was awesome kind of going with that up-tempo offense. That's what I want. Obviously, you run a risk. If you go 3 and out and, well, you're going quick, that's 30 seconds and boom, you're punting the ball right back to Alabama. So I understand there's some risk involved with that, but my goal tonight is not, kill as much clock as possible and hope. My goal is do whatever you can to score against this Alabama team. And I think this Texas offense with Sark, with Quinn Ewers is at its best when they are going a little bit up tempo. So that's what I hope to see from this group. I'm with you on Alabama. I think Alabama's going to try to run the ball and control the clock as much as they possibly can. I don't think Texas, I don't know about these running backs yet. And hell, Bijan couldn't even have a great day against this Alabama team. But once again, like I want Texas to go up tempo, to play fast, and maybe use the pass to set up the run a little bit more than some people might expect.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to need a lot of yards after catch with these wide receivers. You know what I'm saying? Like going up tempo, that sounds great. I take that if you do it the smart way.
Yeah, short and intermediate.
Right? Like short and intermediate.
Don't just run up to the line, chuck it 50 yards down the field. That's
we're not going all
for.
verticals and stuff like that. No. Like this ain't Madden. So yeah, that you could go tempo and also take what the defense gives you. I think sometimes that just doesn't happen when they try to go up tempo. And another thing that's concerning, the fourth down just not stops that Rice had against you last week. There's going to be moments where you're going to have to go for it for fourth down. Like being in Bryant Downey Stadium, you got to take the crowd out of it. If you get those fourth down conversions, like that's a way to take the crowd out of things. So, I'm not saying there's going to be a fake punt in this game, but there has to be something up Sark's sleeve, something just in case. I'm not saying being desperate is a thing, but it's just, we saw Dan Campbell against the Kansas City Chiefs on the second drive for the Lions. Them dudes went for it on a punt and got it and scored on that drive. Yeah. And that changed the game along with Kadarius Toney and his Butterfinger hands. But that really changed the game. So I don't know if Sark's going to do anything like that, but yeah, you can't hold anything back. What that vanilla offense that you saw against Rice, no, we throwing everything at the Crimson Tide tonight.
Has Kadarius Toney been suspended yet for gambling? I mean, dude, he was clearly
he's down bad. He deleted his Twitter and stuff.
Did he?
Yeah,
he had Twitter fingers all off season long too. He was going after like all these Giants fans who were dunking on him because of the trade and everything. And yeah, probably a good move to get off of the internet based on how he played the other night.
That's what you get paid for, dog. To catch the ball. You're a wide receiver.
Yeah,
catch the ball. It's Patrick Mahomes. It don't get no better than that. No. It don't get no more in the pocket between the numbers than what Patrick Mahomes is throwing at you. So if you can't catch that, yeah, you definitely down bad.
Yeah, you thought Worthy had drop issues last year. Nothing compared to Kadarius Toney. Hey, shout out to Jay Ward with the super chat. Appreciate the love, Jay Ward. Just have faith in those Horns. Time to break the 2009 curse. My goodness, man. I hope you are right. Since we're talking about the offense, Zay, let's make a prediction. Offensive player of the game. It's brought to you by our friends at Verdes Mexican Parrilla. We'll talk more about them in a second. But for the Longhorns, how about a prediction for the offensive player of the game tonight?
I'm going to go with 0, JT Sanders. I think he could have a huge game. I think those linebackers, they got to show me something for Alabama. I think those safeties like Caleb Downs and Key, they got to show me something too. Like JT Sanders, this dude should be the second tight end taken in the draft next year. Like he has everything, the athleticism, the size, yards after catch. He stiff armed that dude. Again, we always got to say it's against Rice because people go crazy. But the way he stiff armed old boy on his touchdown run, it was like just knocking a feather out the sky. That dude, he didn't even feel that. So he's a different type of cat. And there's sometimes, I think since he's a tight end and he has so much responsibility, not only catching the ball, but also blocking. And, Jeff Banks, he going to make sure you block. And especially when the Horns bring in Gunnar Helm and they'll go to a 12 personnel, like they need JT Sanders to block. I think that gets kind of, he's worried about just trying to be the complete tight end to where you see what happened on Saturday and it gets caught up with Jordan Whittington or the ball gets knocked off his head, just miscommunication things. If him and Quinn Ewers could get on the same page, that dude could have over 100 yards tonight, just attacking the middle of the field. Because again, we want to test Kool-Aid McKinstry a little bit, but not too much. So you got to exploit the weak links. And I think those weak links are the safety and linebacker crew for Alabama, which in recent years, it feels like an oxymoron saying that. But like for this year, this ain't those Alabama teams of the past. And they do have weaknesses, those I just mentioned. I think JT Sanders could have a huge game.
I like that pick. I'm copping out. I'm going with the quarterback, but I expect Quinn Ewers to have a really, really good night tonight. Obviously, he's going to have to. I don't know if he's going to look as good for 60 minutes as he did for the first 15 in the game against Alabama and Austin last year, but I think Quinn Ewers is going to bring it, man. I really do. I woke up feeling pretty good about what he's going to do for this team tonight. And regardless of how he looked at the press conference, regardless of how he looked last week, I feel like this is the type of game where Quinn Ewers is going to step up and prove that he is, number one, the best quarterback at the University of Texas, because there are some people who are doubting that right now. And number two, that he is one of the better quarterbacks in college football, and this dude is worthy of being in the conversation to be a first-round pick in next April's NFL draft. So I think Quinn Ewers has a really, really good day. Obviously, he's going to have to be smart with the football. He's going to have to do a better job of taking what the defense gives him. But I trust Sark to come up with a good game plan to get Ewers going early. I think Ewers is going to build some confidence early in this game, and he's going to be able to have some success for this Texas offense tonight against an Alabama secondary that does have some questions, right? Some inexperience. You talked about those guys who have been a little bit banged up. I think for sure Malachi Moore is playing. I think that report came out yesterday. The word on Key, he'll probably play as well. So I expect Alabama to have all hands on deck, but will those guys be 100%? That's one of the questions that you talked about. So with the wide receivers and tight ends that Texas has, and with the this secondary and also this linebacking core on Alabama replacing a lot of dudes from last year's team, I think this sets up well for Quinn Ewers to put on a little bit of a show this evening.
Yep. Gotta stay clean, though.
Gotta stay clean. That jersey's got to be clean,
That jersey,
man.
They're wearing the icy whites tonight. Some of my favorite uniforms of all time, which the uniforms in this game, pretty iconic. I know on both sides, there's some people, especially the new school cats, they want them to go black and stuff like that. And yeah, whatever. But just the two uniforms on both sides, the Crimson Tide and the burnt orange, and when they wear their whites and stuff, just both iconic, man.
Yeah.
Like, this is going to be one of those games where you look on the field, you're like, man, this is some big time football going on. There's some big brand football going on. And yeah, like hopefully these guys are ready for the hype, because I know we've been waiting for this game a long time. So I know they've been waiting for this game a long time, which that's kind of going back to the Rice game. Were they looking ahead of this one?
Yeah.
You know, all the mistakes and stuff and all the anticipation and all the hype that you got. And you got everybody on the 4-letter network and Fox telling you that you're going to win the Big 12 and this is the year that you get to the playoff. Were they feeling that at first? And then, you know, in the second half, they just let that go and just started focusing on football / looking forward to the Alabama game, being distracted to that. Like, was that why we saw the sloppiness that we saw last week? You can make a claim for that.
Yep. I think the answer to that is yes. Real quick, I do want to give some love to Verdes Mexican Parrilla. They are the sponsor for our offensive player of the game prediction. Man, they came by yesterday, brought some chips and queso and salsa to our great event here at Covert Bee Cave with legendary lifetime Longhorn Michael Griffin, who came on Chip and Zay after he spoke to the folks who were out here, and he was dunking on you, man. That was a hilarious back and forth. If you missed that, go check out yesterday's podcast of Chip and Zay. Griff came on. He and Zay have been boys for a long time, and it was a pretty hilarious back and forth. Griff also gave some thoughts on this Texas team and this Texas-Alabama game as well. It was a fantastic conversation on that show yesterday. But Verdes came out. They brought some chips and queso and salsa. We appreciate them for that. On my way home, I stopped by their location on Hamilton Pool Road, and I was like, I'm going to say thank you to Cody, the guy who runs the place. I'm going to pick up some food. I got these poblano chicken enchiladas. Dude,
okay.
Incredible.
Sounds on point.
The sauce was ridiculously good, man. I was, you know when food's really good, Zay, you get mad that you're done. Like you take your last bite and you're like, shit, man, like there's none left.
Yeah.
Like I wish I had 10 of those things. It was fantastic. Go see Verdes once again on Hamilton Pool Road, right off of 71 in beautiful Spicewood, Texas. Great people. They've got an indoor dining area that makes for a great date night. Massive covered patio. It's a little hot. It will cool down. That'll be a great place to hang out or host your party or cater your next event. I'm telling you, the food is fantastic. Great service as well. Verdes Mexican Parrilla. We thank them for being one of our great sponsors for our game day coverage here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. Yeah, it is a great uniform matchup tonight. You cool with Alabama only having the numbers on their helmets?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I know it's iconic.
classic.
Like that's what they've done for years, but
it's a classic.
Get
Like
a logo,
the
man.
Bear Bryant days and stuff. It's pretty classic.
Yeah, I guess it is. It will be a great uniform night tonight.
It's because they win so much. That's why it gets a little ugly. They're tired of seeing it all the time on TV and then the big games and stuff.
I'm tired of them, dude.
Oh, me too.
I'm so tired of Alabama, man. And like I respect them, just like Steve Sarkisian was talking about earlier. Like I respect them. Sark said he doesn't fear Alabama. I fear Alabama because of what they've done. I'm so ready for a changing of the guard. And not to say that a Texas win tonight means that Alabama's not Alabama anymore, right? They can obviously bounce back, have a really, really good season, find their way into the college football playoff again, and find themselves competing for a national championship again. But, man, it would be so nice. Like, a lot of people are expecting Alabama to take a step back, right? They were ranked number 4 going into the preseason. I'd kill for that for Texas. That's the lowest Bama's been ranked going into a season since 2009. So some people are starting to think maybe there are some cracks in the armor there at Alabama and a chance for this Texas team to get it done. It would be so much fun, man, to just find a way to knock off Alabama tonight. Once again, like I'm trying not to put too much into this game, Zay, because it's one game out of 12. And my number one goal this season is not to beat Alabama. It's to win the Big 12 championship.
Sure.
I think that's Texas's goal. I think that's every Texas fan's goal, right? Just find a way to win the Big 12 title. Obviously, you want both. You want to win over Bama and a Big 12 championship this year. But we know there are other fish to fry this year. But, man, it's when you look at just the question marks with Alabama and just how many things it feels like Texas has going for them this year, I'm not going to be able to help it. If Texas loses this game, I'm going to have if not now, win. Like,
right.
If we couldn't beat these guys now, and I know Texas will get more chances with the move to the SEC, and they'll be playing Alabama probably every other or every third year. And, of course, we plan on hopefully being alive for a long time, and we'll get to see Texas play and beat Alabama a few times as we move forward. But just with the questions that Bama has and the answers that it feels like Texas has this year, there's going to be a big part of me that's just wonders from here until the next time these two teams square off on the same field. Like, if it can't happen tonight, when can it happen? Because Texas is, once again, more going for it in a long time, and Alabama feels like there's more doubters about them than they've had in a long time too.
Yeah, especially with what the Big 12, what we've seen these first 2 weeks, it might not be as good as we thought. With Texas Tech going down, we saw TCU lose to Colorado, which Colorado, they might be in the college football playoff. The last 2 games they won, being the breaks off of their rival Nebraska today. But yeah, and also the other team that lost last week in the Big 12, I said Tech.
Baylor.
They're
0-2 now.
0-2, yep. Exactly. So if you lose this game, it's kind of like a must win the Big 12 and maybe put yourself in the situation to play Bama or whoever wins the SEC, play them again or play that type of talent again. Because I don't think you're going to see that all year long, even though Texas' schedule is still pretty dangerous and there's a lot of trap games on there. And you're Texas, you're going to get everybody's best shot and then some. Yeah, this game, it means a ton. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of pressure on Sark.
Yeah,
because it is that, like, when is it going to happen? Do you have the juice to go to the SEC and play with the big dogs and be there? Because you have a grand opportunity to do that now against the Alabama team that, even though people aren't ranking them that high, they might not be that good, as people say. And, I think it's still Bama, but yeah, this is as good as an opportunity as you're ever going to see. And if Sark and those guys can't do it, there's going to be a lot of question marks on if he's the guy that can win the big game.
Yeah, I mean, Sark is 1-7 against top 5 teams in his coaching career, right?
Not good.
Most of those games happened before he got to Texas, but in these types of spots, Sark has not been great. We talked about his road record at the University of Texas as well. That has not been great either. So there's a few monkeys that Sark needs to get off his back in this game today.
Shoot, more like gorilla.
Yeah, no
that
kidding.
Monkey, big as hell.
I mean, it's
just your average chimp.
Yeah. And this is like, this is an unfair barometer. Because it's like Alabama, like there are teams that compete for national championships. Hell, Georgia won the national title 2 years ago, and they lost to Bama once. Now they got their revenge in the title game and obviously beat Alabama. But like, this is such a tough test for anybody. I mean, the last time a non-conference team has beaten Nick Saban in Alabama was 2007. Won 57 straight non-conference games.
Damn,
ridiculous. So that's what Texas is going up against right now. And obviously Alabama has dominated the sport since Nick Saban took over back in the aughts. But that's where it is, a chance for Texas to get that signature win. Right now, Sark's most signature win was 49-0 against Oklahoma. That was awesome. We'll take that. That Oklahoma team went 6-7 last year.
Yeah.
Like, you beat the worst Oklahoma team in the last 20
Didn't
years.
have their starting quarterback in that game.
Didn't have their starting quarterback. It was still awesome.
Yeah.
Like, whatever. We'll
Great
take
day.
it. I'm
Yeah,
not
it was a
complaining
great
about
day.
that at all. But like, this really has a chance to be like the signature win for Steve Sarkisian, and the chance to really elevate Tech. I mean, if Texas wins tonight, they're in the CFP conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's
Hell
a
yeah.
simple. They might jump up into the top 5. Like, they're number 11 right now, not even in the top 10. If they win this game in Tuscaloosa tonight, they jump into the top 5. And all of a sudden the conversation goes, they're the favorites in the Big 12 to, oh no, like they should be one of the favorites to make it to the CFP, because they're going to be favored in all of the rest of their games this season. Like, if they win this game at Alabama, that's what the narrative changes to. So that is what's at stake for this Texas team.
Yeah, and it's kind of scares you that Nick Saban, they have all this doubt on the Alabama side. They're putting them at number 4. Last year, you heard Saban pissed off, talking to people, saying, hey, if everybody has us picked to win, Vegas has us picked to win, then why aren't we in the college football playoff? And they took it out on Kansas State. So now they're trying to not put any doubt into the committee and what they want to do. They win every single game this year, they're going to be in the college football playoff. That's just what it is. So Texas, they're in the way. And people are talking about, oh, Nick, you don't got your fastball. You know, you've lost a step. All these defensive coordinators, you need this and that. You're getting too old. And it's natural for somebody who wins to excel and not work as hard. You know, the nut job college coaches don't do that. Like, right when they win the title, they're already on the phone talking to recruits and stuff. And Nick Saban, he's one of those guys. So it's disrespectful to say this about him, to put doubt in his team. And they know that. The whole state of Alabama knows that. So he'll be riding that into this game, and that's dangerous for Texas, along with those crazy-ass fans at Bryant Downey Stadium. Like, it's going to be popping. And can Texas handle that? Can Sark handle that? He knows what it's about. He's been in that stadium plenty of times. But on that other side, can they handle that? And when they do get punched in the mouth, can they take the hit and keep on throwing punches themselves and try to make the game whatever it is, but to their advantage, whether it's high tempo, whether it's, you know, ice the clock a little bit and run the football, because they're going to have to run it at some point. Whether that's CJ Baxter, Jonathan Brooks, Keelan Robinson, Jaden Blue. I like what he did on last Saturday against Rice. I know his pass protection is still in question, which they're going to test that this game, but those running backs, they're going to be huge, not just on the ground, but in the passing game. You talk about Quinn Ewers and how he can succeed. Those check downs to Jonathan Brooks, Keelan Robinson, where they could, you know, turn those 2-yard gains into 20-yard games. That's huge, just to move the chains and deflate the defense. So as Quinn Ewers, does he have the mental toughness to just stay in the pocket and say, oh, that deep shot ain't gone? Okay, what's next? We haven't seen that enough to fully feel confident. If he does that, again, the Horns, they should be in a good spot.
Yeah, like, that's also how you can mitigate bad offensive line play, right? The screen game, those short passes, but also the screen game too. I hope that is more of a part of this Texas offense tonight than what we saw last week against Rice. Because, yeah, I do think all of those guys that you mentioned, especially Keelan Robinson, right? Robinson only 1 carry and 1 reception last week.
Saving them.
I hope that's the case. The Alabama transfer, you feel like he could be ready for this moment. He's been a college football player for a long time now. Hopefully, yeah, they've got some tricks up the sleeve to get him the ball a little bit more often. But yeah, I like that. Like, the traditional run game, it might not be there against this really, really good Alabama defensive front. Okay, well, you still have to find ways to get your running backs involved. And the screen game is an extension of the run game. So, hey, if you can't just hand it off and pick up 4, 5, 6 yards of carry straight up the gut, find a way to get your playmakers the ball. I mean, CJ Baxter, #1 running back recruit in the country this year. Jonathan Brooks, I think, is a great talent. Keelan Robinson, that gadget back. Jaden Blue, for a while, was the #1 running back recruit in the country back when he was in high school. You can't just give up on running the football altogether. You have to find ways to make your running backs a factor in this game tonight. Let's hear one more from Steve Sarkisian here. We'll go with cut 8 because he talked about the emotion. There's going to be a ton of it. The crazy crowd at Bryant Denny. There are going to be a lot of Texas fans there. I know a bunch of people who are there, seen it all over social media. Like, the Longhorn contingent will be strong tonight, but it's not going to be a neutral site feel or anything like that. It's going to be 80% Alabama fans, you would think. And once again, Nick Saban doesn't lose there very often. Here's Sark, cut 8, talking about controlling the emotion in this game against Alabama.
Well, I think a couple things is, one, we got to make sure that our energy, our juice is right. But we got to make sure that we don't become emotional because when that happens, we start making poor choices and decisions. So we want to be aggressive. We know this is going to be a physical ball game. We want to attack them in all three phases. You have to. And when you can do that and you can execute, you give yourself a chance to play a 4-quarter football game against them. But that has to start from the opening kick. You know, we can't wait and we can't throw jabs. We've got to go into this game and we got to try to step in the middle of the ring and start throwing haymakers.
No, I'm an idiot. I said we didn't have that audio earlier. We clearly had that audio with the jab haymaker thing. Remember what I said earlier? Yeah.
It's all good.
Everyone's drunk watching at home anyway, so it's all good. But yeah, like it's coach speak. It's cliche. Play with emotion, but don't get emotional. That's what you have to do. You cannot let this atmosphere get the best of you. And the last time, I've said it a few times, and I'm sorry if this is scaring you, but it's something that I can't get out of my head. The fact that Sark is 3-6 in true road games at the University of Texas. But the last time Texas played a road game against an SEC team, they let the atmosphere get the best of them. Ugh. That was Sark's second game in year one. They got boat raced by Arkansas in Fayetteville, and it's a different team. It's obviously a lot better team and whatever. Like this year's Texas team would beat the 2021 Texas team by like 4 touchdowns. But still, that's the last time Texas went on the road against an SEC team in a crazy environment, and they got their ass handed to them. And it just felt like they couldn't get up off the mat, to use the boxing reference that Sark was talking about there. Like when Arkansas started throwing punches, Texas just stayed down and they couldn't figure it out. That's what Texas has to do, man. When things don't go their way, these guys can't get emotional. They can't let this moment be too big for them. They have to find a way to respond from the adversity and bounce back and fight right back against this Alabama team.
Yeah, what also scares you about that Arkansas game that's a little synonymous with this one, KJ Jefferson, running quarterback. Jalen Milroe, running quarterback. So, yeah, they had over 300-some yards on the ground in that Arkansas game. That definitely can't happen in the game tonight. And Sark talked about, guys being hyped for this game, but not getting too emotional where you do uncharacteristic things. That goes for the offensive line, it being so loud that you're not hearing the calls, you're not hearing the signals and guys jumping off sides and false starts and just penalties. You got to have a clean game penalty-wise. You cannot be set back 5 yards, set back 10 yards to make it harder for your offense to get first downs. Those things can't happen. You cannot beat yourselves tonight because Alabama's too good for that. Yep. They're already capable of beating you even if you have a good game. Like that's what's scary. When you play teams like this, you could play well on certain, positions and still lose. Yep. Because the quality of the team on the other side is that good. So beating yourselves cannot happen. That's just impossible if they want to win tonight with all that they have against them. And keeping those guys and Quinn Ewers, all the leaders, like the leaders are going to be huge today. Jalen Ford, Jahdae Barron, which I don't think we talk about Jahdae Barron enough. The dude's an absolute dog. Austin Knight from Conley High School. I absolutely love him. I expect him to make some money and play on Sundays after this season. I expect him to have a big game tonight, but they're going to need all those leaders, guys that came from the SEC that are used to this environment. Jalen Catalon and Donnie Mitchell, you talk about Keelan Robinson coming over from Alabama, like guys that have been in these types of games, they're going to need them because guys who haven't, they might be a deer in the headlights. It is what it is. We're talking about 18, 19-year-old kids right now. Great like points. You could say what you want about, I'm tough, I'm ready, I don't fear nothing. Okay. Well, when you get on prime time and you under the lights and Herb Street calling your game and stuff, talk to me then, because we've seen a lot of guys fold, like a lot of players on that 2021 Texas team that were 5 stars and came out and stuff, and those guys went 5-7. Yeah. So it don't matter. Sometimes you could tell the dogs and the puppies, and whoever's more dog tonight going to win this game. Point blank, period.
A lot of great points there, Zay. And you talk about Texas not beating itself. That can't happen. It's hard enough to beat Alabama on the road in their house. You can't do it when you're shooting yourselves in the foot with silly penalties and boneheaded mistakes. For as ugly as last week was for Texas, from a penalty standpoint, pretty clean. 5 penalties, but 3 of them came in the fourth quarter when all of the backups were in. So for the most part, they did a good job with the penalties, but you're playing at home in front of 100,000 people who are cheering for you and not making a bunch of noise when you're on offense. Like that's obviously not the case today. So you can't back yourself up with those penalties. And also, when I hear Sark and I hear you talking about just controlling your emotion, I think Bill Belichick, do your job.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like when things start to go against you, you just feel like, I've got to make a play. I've got to be a hero here. I've got to step up and go over the top and make something happen for my team. And sometimes when guys try to do that, they abandon what they're supposed to do. And then boom, they ended up getting burned because of it. Like, do your job. That's it. You can't control the guys around you. Control yourself. Make sure you stay in that moment. Even if things aren't going your way, make sure you focus on what you're supposed to do. And hopefully that'll be enough for you to compete in this game for 60 minutes.
And how do you tell like 18, 19-year-olds that when that's all they've known?
Yep.
Like, they were the best player on their high school team. So it was a requirement. If you don't do what you're expected to do, which is dominate, because that's what you were on the high school level, then we're not going to win a game. And they have that mindset. Some guys have that mindset. The best don't. The best, like you say, BK, that Greg Popovich, Bill Belichick, Bill Parcells, like, do your job. Leave the ego at home. We ain't trying to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about the team. And if you're not willing to be all about the team, yeah, your stats might not be crazy, but did you do your job to where it helped us win? And if guys could have that mindset coming in, then the Horns, they give themselves as good a chance as anybody coming into Bryant Downey Stadium with the roster that they have.
Absolutely. All right, let's shift gears and talk about the Texas defense. But before that, let's give another scoreboard update brought to you by our friends at Moonshine, Patio, Bar, and Grill. We have reached halftime in Coral Gables. It's all about the U, Miami, with a 21-17 lead over Texas A&M. Third quarter kickoff about to start in that one. Yeah, we'll throw up
the U, man, just for this week
for
man.
The cameras here at the Covert Bee Cave Studios. Third quarter action in New Orleans. How about this one? A top 25 matchup between Ole Miss and Tulane. The schools are tied at 17 right now, midway through quarter number 3. A couple of finals from earlier today. Notre Dame 45, NC State 24. Utah with a couple of touchdowns in the final 2 minutes in Waco to knock off Baylor 20-13. Baylor now 0-2. Other Big 12 action, number 15, Kansas State with a 42-13 victory over Troy. And the biggest story in college football continues to be the biggest story in college football. The Colorado Buffaloes. Zay, some people worried about a little bit of a hangover, right? Colorado gets that huge win in Fort Worth last week. Everyone's patting them on the back, telling them how good they are. People are thinking, all right, maybe this is a comeback down to earth type of moment for the Buffs. Not the case, man. A little skittish out of the gate, but they ended up running away from Nebraska 36-14. Colorado was ranked number 22 going into today. They'll be a top 20 team after this one. The biggest story in college football continues to be Coach Prime and those CU Buffs.
Yeah, they're fun to watch, man. They're really exciting. The juice that Dion is bringing to that program is just infectious. But on another note, Nebraska, they look like crap. Like they look like crap in that Minnesota game. Like Jeff Sims, I don't think he's it. I think Matt Rule, like, he got hurt in the game too. So there's probably going to be a quarterback controversy, going into week 3. So Matt Rule, I don't know if he'll be able to turn it around like he did at Temple or Baylor, but he has his work cut out for him. And in a rival game like this, which, say what you want, they're not in the same conference anymore, and they're not really as good as they once were, but it's still a rival game. It didn't look like that one bit. And Shadur Sanders and that crew, Travis Hunter and them, they got a lot of talent. Like, Dion did a good job hiring a lot of, pretty credible guys that were head coaches and now as offensive coordinators and as assistants, and they got in a lot of good guys in the transfer portal. So yeah, we'll see if they could keep this thing rolling.
Absolutely. We'll give one more scoreboard update before we get out of here, but thanks again to our friends at Moonshine Patio Bar and Grill for sponsoring that. And thanks to all of our great sponsors here on the Texas Sports Unfiltered pregame show. By the way, we do have a text line, 512-222-9328. Got a text from 512 listening live now. Good turnout of horns in Tuscaloosaville. Y'all ready for the upset? Thanks for y'all's Longhorn coverage. So, we apparently are being tuned in Tuscaloosa. Yeah, I expect a lot of Longhorn fans out there tonight. Should be a fun time. Hopefully it's a fun time for all of you folks who made the trip. Another text from a different 512 number. Make sure the refs know what a safety is. Yeah, can we please not relive that again? I mean, obviously the refs are we expect the refs to be a storyline for Texas all season long based on what happened last year, based on Brett Yormark's comments a couple of weeks ago before the season started. Like, we figure once we get into conference play, Texas might be having to go up against the Zebras week in and week out. Can we not deal with that again tonight? No controversial calls. I mean, Texas lost by 1 point last year. Yeah. Could have used that safety. Now, of course, you never know how the game would have played out if they called it. I understand that. But in a close game like that, you need all the points you can get. I expect this game to be close tonight. You can't have the refs just going rogue, making up rules as they go, calling a bunch of BS that screws you. I was hoping Texas got the home cooking last year. They didn't. Hopefully, turnabout is fair play. Maybe the Longhorns can get a call like that to go in their favor tonight.
Yeah, it might have been a respect call, too. Like Bryce Young, especially in college football, I wouldn't say he has a Tom Brady type aura or relationship with the refs, but it's kind of one of those we protect the big-time guy, the guy that's a little bit of the face of college football, and now they don't have that. So that's why Texas fans are pretty excited, because Jalen Milroe being so unproven, like Bryce Young, what he did last year, especially that Ryan Watts missed tackle to put him in field goal position to win the game. Like, he does things that no other quarterback does. And even though Jalen Milroe has a lot of upside, he don't got that it factor yet. Now, this could be the game where he shows that it factor and he puts the whole nation on notice. But I still think he's going to do a lot of just inexperienced things and forcing him to throw the football, whether you spy him, whether you play zone. I think it's a death sentence if you play man-to-man a lot in this game. You're going to have to pick and choose when you play, but if you're playing man-to-man and you got guys covering wide receivers and their back is turned and Jalen Milroe starts scrambling and stuff, you're screwed.
Yep.
You're screwed, man. I want those guys to be in a pretty tight zone to where they have eyes on number 4, to wherever he goes, if he tries to run for yardage, you're there to make the tackle. Because this guy, he thinks, he's a pretty swole dude that I heard in the weight room. He's a monster. So he's going to lower his head. He's not a slider, which Nick Saban's probably letting him know, like, hey, bro, I get it. Middle Tennessee, you want to win the fans over. You do that by lowering your head. Like, they love that shit.
Oh, yeah.
They love that. They love it. Even though I can't stand it. Like when Quinn took a hit yesterday or last Saturday trying to run and didn't slide, I was like, Quinn, relax. Like, you need to chill, bro. Jalen Milroe does it. I get it. It's different, but you're still a quarterback. You're still the most valuable part of your team. You got to be careful. And on the Texas side, if this fool wants to run and wants to lower his head, you bring in the boom.
Bingo.
You bringing it. Like, hell yeah, we want that. Even it might be a 15-yard gain, but make him remember that, we hitting around here. If you do that again, we're going to give it to you again. I'd be careful, Jalen Milroe. I really would. But hey, that's what I'm saying. You can't be scared. If he runs somebody over and gets somebody hype, you can't cower and be scared of that. You gotta say, okay, whoever that was, let's get you out the game for a little bit and bring in somebody that ain't gonna get run over. And yeah, man, you got to bring the boom yourself.
Yeah, make him think twice, right?
Sure.
If Jalen Milroe takes off and run and he doesn't give himself up, then make him pay a little bit to where next time he thinks, should I try to throw it here? Or should I try to take off and run? He's a little hesitant there because that split-second difference might be the difference in a big play tonight. And yeah, that's the key for this Texas defense, right? Of course, it's easier said than done, Zay, but they've got to make Jalen Milroe stay in the pocket and beat Texas with his arm. It's as simple as that. Like, the guy is an electric runner. He might be the fastest player on the field when Alabama has the ball. And he's 6'2", 6'3", 220. He's also big as well. This guy is a freak athlete. Of course, from the state of Texas, from Katy Tompkins in the Houston area. One-time Texas commit. Texas wanted this dude. Everybody wanted this dude because of his supreme athleticism. He's got that. So you have to find a way. That's where it's do your job right there. Like, maintain your discipline on defense. Do what you're supposed to do and contain Jalen Milroe. Because if that guy starts to take off and run, then it could be a long night for this defense. You've got to find a way to keep him in the pocket and make him beat you with his arm. Because like you said, look, he looked pretty good last week against Middle Tennessee, connected on a few deep shots, but still, that is the question mark. That's the big weakness in his game. And the one start he has against a Power 5 team last year against A&M, he didn't look very good throwing the football. So you have to find a way to turn Jalen Milroe into a passer to have a really good chance. And if you do that, you have a great chance to win this game tonight, because I don't have the faith that he can sit back there and throw it 25 or 30 times. Like Alabama wants him to throw it 15 to 20 times, I think, at the most. I think he only threw it 18 times in their week 1 victory. They want to run the football with the running backs, but they also want Milroe to be a huge part of their ground game too. They do not want him to have to sit back there and throw it 30, 35 times a game or whatever. If Texas can find a way to make Milroe become a pocket passer, we're going to be talking about a win all week long here on Texas Sports Unfiltered.
Absolutely, BK. And even though Pete Kwiatkowski has struggled since he's been to Texas with running quarterbacks, this team, when it comes to heavy packages and 2 tight ends out there, they're usually pretty good. But when they get spread out and you go into those like 10 personnel and 20 personnel, 2 running backs and just wide receivers out there, they could get exploited. So can this new secondary with guys like Ryan Watts and Terrence Brooks, Malik Muhammad, Gavin Holmes, Jade Barron, Jalen Gilbo, when it's time for him to throw the ball, can you make plays? Because you're going to have to turn the ball over somehow, whether it's a forced fumble, interception, you're going to have to turn the ball over. Like, they can't have a clean night for Alabama, and the Horns expect to win this game. Like, you got to get the ball back and control the possessions at times. But yeah, I'm completely agree with you. Like, Jalen Milroe just has to throw the ball if Texas wants to win. If they just ground and pound and use up that clock, and Texas is getting beat up with Jace McCullough and Roydell Williams, which Roydell Williams is more of the bigger back. He's more of a goal line short gang guy. And we saw Jace McCullough last year. He could take it to the house at any moment. So Jalen Ford's going to be a huge game for him. Anthony Hill, Dave Benda, Dave Benda's a 5th-year senior, but he does some things where you're like, okay, bro, like last week where he got beat on the long gain, where he lost his man on the crossing route. Yeah. You're like, okay, bro, like, you've been here a long time. Those things can't happen. But again, he's human. He's going to have mistakes. There's going to be guys that make mistakes in this game. You just got to limit the big play. And if the Horns could do that and stay in the game, they're going to give themselves a chance.
They will. Let's hear from Steve Sarkisian here. We'll go with cut 6. Shout out to Trey, by the way, for producing the show today. Man. Wish we had a mic for him to jump on and talk a little bit. But he also worked like 8 shows in a row this week because of all the vacations and sicknesses people had. So he's probably okay not
calling him Travis Hunter with what he's been doing for Texas Sports Unfiltered.
No kidding.
He's been putting in extra time there. We appreciate you, Trey.
Man, let's go to cut 6. This is from earlier this week. Steve Sarkisian was asked about Jalen Milroe and the Alabama offense.
Jalen's a fantastic player. I got a chance to recruit him out of high school. He's got a dynamic arm. He can make every throw in the book, off platform, on the run, doesn't matter. He's a tremendous runner. He's an elite runner with the ball in his hand, with his speed and his physicality. And he's highly competitive. He's a really good leader. And the thing probably that concerns me the most about that is they're very balanced. They can run the ball with the runner. They've got really good speed on the perimeter with Isaiah Bond and Jermaine Burton and that crew that they have there. They utilize their tight ends, and they got a physical offensive line. And so you put all that together, and then ultimately the threat of the quarterback run. They've got a multitude of quarterback runs, whether they're zone reads, power reads, quarterback direct runs, quarterback scrambles on third downs. That's probably the biggest thing that's the toughest to prepare for, that we're going to have to spend extra time of how do we control and contain the quarterback with his legs. The rest of the offense is the offense which you see, and it's good, and it's very well designed, and they've got really good pieces. But the quarterback run, and they're going to run the quarterback. It's not a secret. What they did in week 1 is we're going to get something different, and that's okay. But making sure that we are accounting for number 4 in all of the quarterback run games is going to be a real key to the drill.
Yeah. Sark echoing our sentiments there, Zay. I mean, it's no secret what Alabama's going to try to do offensively. They want to run the football a lot, not just with their running backs, and McClellan is good and Roydell Williams is good too. But number 4, the quarterback, Jalen Milroe, is going to be a huge part of that. And Texas has to be smart with their assignments on defense. Let's get to our defensive player of the game right now, brought to you by Kenfield Golf Cars. Prediction from you, Zay, for this Texas defense tonight. Who is going to have the best performance on defense?
I'm gonna go with Jalen Catalon.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Jalen Catalon. We didn't see him much last week, which I think is a good thing. Like, let's save him for this game. We don't need you getting hurt early. We know his injury history, which that always is going to be in the back of your mind and scares you as a Texas fan. But talk about a guy that's going to embrace the moment because he's been here before in the SEC, playing in this type of environment, playing in these type of big games, kind of understanding just how the SEC works. I think that he could have a huge game just coming in up on the line, making tackles. We know we heard Sark. We talked about it. Tommy Reed's coming in from Notre Dame. He wants to put a big package out there, and it definitely, with the weapons that they have, it fits. They're just so new to it still. They should have some mistakes, and forcing those mistakes are going to be huge. So getting to Jalen Milroe, making life comfortable for him, make him, I don't want him to run, but I want him to be uncomfortable to where he's, okay, this might be the read right here. Oh, the pressure's on. I got to take off. Like instinct's going to take over and he has to take off. And if you're playing a zone or something, or maybe have a spy, there's going to be somebody waiting for him. So yeah, I could go the easy way out and say Jalen Ford or Trevondre Sweat, but Jalen Catalan, this is why you're here.
Yep.
This is why you got brought over, the hype that you had coming out of the Mansfield area. Like, you are a serious dude when you're healthy and on the field. Me and Chet, we compare that dude to Bob Sanders, one of my favorite safeties of all time. Might be undersized, but an absolute dog. That's what Jalen Catalan is. And if he goes out there and performs, then I think everybody's going to follow suit.
You talk about somebody maybe laying the wood on Jalen Milroe if he doesn't give himself up on a run play. That's Jalen Catalan right there.
Sure.
If we get some Jalen on Jalen crime tonight, Jalen Catalan gets the chance to lower the boom on Jalen Milroe, we might see Tyler Buckner in the game for Alabama.
I'll take that.
Like that's the type of hitter that Jalen Catalan is. And yeah, he can make you regret coming across the middle of the field if you're a receiver or if you're a quarterback and you're not willing to slide. Jalen Catalan is the type of dude. I mean, the guy's 5'10", like you said, over 200 pounds. He's a big dude, strong, incredibly well built. That's the type of guy that can plant that seed of doubt that you're talking about in Jalen Milroe. You gotta have a spy on every single play, right? Like, you got to switch up who that spy is, so Jalen Milroe doesn't know before he snaps the ball who the spy is going to be. But you have to have somebody there to be watching that dude at all times as well. I'll go with another secondary guy for my defensive player of the game. I'll go Ryan Watts.
Okay,
revenge for the way last year's game went down, right? Like, that was the play. There were a few plays, obviously, Texas would have loved to have had back from that 1-point loss here in Austin last year. But, the missed sack from Ryan Watts on that final Alabama drive, if Watts is able to make that play, then Texas maybe walks out of there with a huge upset win over Alabama last season. Bryce Young, I'll give him all the credit in the world, man. That's Heisman winner, #1 pick. He stepped up and made a play. But I got a hunch Ryan Watts has been thinking about that play and that moment pretty much since that day last September here in Austin. I think he's going to get some revenge. I'm calling an interception from Ryan Watts tonight, and I think he makes a couple of other plays too in this secondary against a Bama wide receiver group. Bucky and I talked to Ryan Fowler, who does radio in Tuscaloosa, maybe on Thursday, and I asked him about the wide receivers, right? Because you think about Bama's receivers over the last decade or so, Zay, got Jalen Waddle and Devontae Smith,
Judy,
Amari Cooper, Jerry Judy. I mean, the list goes on
Julio,
and on. Yeah.
Ridiculous.
And I'm like, all right, because last year the Bama receivers were not good. Like, it really felt like Bryce Young was by himself on offense at times for Alabama last year. The receivers were dropping passes left and right. I mean, it was an ugly showing. And I asked Ryan, I'm like, well, okay, what's the Bama wide receiver room like this year? And he still made it sound like that's a huge question mark right now. So this Texas secondary, which looked good last week against Rice, but obviously had a lot of high hopes and expectations going into the season. I think they can win that matchup against the Bama wide receivers tonight. So when Jalen Milroe does try to throw the football, I like the secondary's chances to go make a couple of plays tonight.
Right, and that's why Amari Nyblack, the tight end, he probably scares me the most because he might be the best pass catcher that they have, even though he's not technically a wide receiver, but he has a lot of those just traits to where they could put him out in the slot, which they did for, a lot of their touchdowns against Middle Tennessee. Like, they could use him in multiple ways to cover up those holes that they might have at wide receiver. But I wouldn't sleep on Isaiah Bond. Isaiah Bond, when he was in Georgia, as a high school kid, he won the 200 and the 100 in the state. So be careful with him. That dude has absolute blazers, and Alabama Crimson Tide fans, they expect him to do big things this year coming into a starting position. And you look at guys like Malik Benson, who was a JUCO transfer, number one JUCO player coming out of that league.
Yep.
So he could bring it. Ja'Cory Brooks, who didn't play in the first half of the Middle Tennessee game, he could go, even though he kind of has a drop problem at times. But when he catches the ball, look out. One of their big receivers, and then Burton, the Georgia transfer, who Adonai Mitchell is probably familiar with. That guy, he has his moments of looking good, but also looking a little just not like the old Alabama receivers that we're used to. So, yeah, I think that's a vulnerable point for them. And I do think I agree with you that our corners, that matchup in the secondary, they could win that and they should win that.
Yeah.
But that's not what Tommy Rees and Saban want to do.
Right.
And that's what really scares you. Like they're gonna take what the defense gives them, but they're gonna focus on running the ball first and throwing second.
Yeah, Bama's got some dudes in that wide receiver room. It's Alabama.
Yeah.
Of course, they've got 4s and 5 stars everywhere, but not a lot of proven commodities on the outside for them on offense. And once again, Jalen Milroe, still a major question mark of how effective of a thrower he can be. So, Texas secondary, I think, has a chance to make some plays. By the way, the defensive player of the game prediction is brought to you by our friends at Kenfield Golf Cars. If you're in the market for a new or pre-owned golf cart, I've got some good news. Our friends at Kenfield Golf Cars are right around the corner. Founded in 1979, they have an unparalleled selection of different golf carts available in both new and used, and they want to turn your golf cart dreams into reality. No job too big, no job too small, whether it's turning your existing golf cart into your own design or letting them build a golf cart to fit your needs. Nobody in the state does it better than Kenfield Golf Cars. Go to their website, KenfieldGolfCars.com, for more information, or give them a call today, 512-258-8515. We thank them for sponsoring our defensive player of the game prediction right here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. Zay, I got this Phil Steele magazine in front of me, man. I look at this thing all the time.
Yeah, the legend.
It's the Bible.
Yeah.
And I read this more than the actual Bible. That's for damn sure. I found this fascinating, right? And a lot of the stats that I've given throughout this, hour and a half plus that we've done in this pregame show so far have been in favor of Alabama. And let's be honest, most of the numbers that are out there favor Alabama. That's why they are a 7.5-point favorite tonight. We know how good Saban is. We know how good he's been at home. We know where Texas has been in recent years. Like, a lot of the on-paper stuff bodes well for the Crimson Tide. Phil Steele, in his college football preview magazine, does his position unit rankings going into every single season. He takes a look at every position unit on the team, including special teams, and just ranks every single team in the country. I found this fascinating. Texas is higher ranked than Alabama in more position groups. Texas is higher ranked than Alabama in 5 of the 8 different position units that Phil Steele looked at. According to Phil Steele, Texas has the edge at quarterback. They've got the edge at wide receiver. They've got the edge on the offensive line. They've got the edge at linebacker, and they've got the edge on special teams. And all 5 of those units, Phil Steele preseason, this obviously does not include what happened in week 1 where Texas looked kind of against Rice and Alabama was able to cover pretty handily against Middle Tennessee. But going into the season, like on paper, the position edge matchup, I know that's a huge thing that everybody does going into a big game. Like, quarterbacks, who's got the better quarterback? Who's got the better running backs? Texas actually has a more talented roster in 5 of the 8 position groups that Phil Steele looked at. So if you're looking for some confidence right there, there's your on paper, like, hey, this Texas team is better than it's been in years past, and this Alabama team maybe a little bit worse than it's been in years past.
Yeah, the special teams battle, I don't know. Their kicker is solid. Their Kool-Aid McKinstry as a punt returner, I think he's better than what Xavier Werde has shown us as a punt returner. I still think that it was a bad move having them return punts last year and not Deshaun Jameson. That makes absolutely no sense to me. Deshaun Jameson, I want to say he's on the Carolina Panthers now, probably be returning punts for them tomorrow. So that doesn't make any sense.
Special teams was close, Zay. Like literally.
Okay, it was close.
Phil Steele has Texas as his 3rd ranked special teams unit in the country, which is crazy. Alabama's ranked number 4. So that one's basically a toss up according to Steele.
Yeah, Phil, like I don't know about that one, dog. You know, that's been an issue recently with Texas. Like not enough big plays or just not enough big gains to where you're in great position with your offense on kick and punt returns. Like Keelan Robinson, they got to be better. I know a lot goes into that from the blocking and the scheme that you're trying to do, but Xavier Werde too. Yeah. Like if he's going to be back there, he's got to do a better job. Like sometimes they'll just let the ball bounce. You know, sometimes you just got. Sometimes you need to field that.
Catch the ball, dude.
Catch the ball.
That's the one thing you can fair catch it every single time. Just catch the ball.
Well, last year you'll give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit. Yeah. Dude had a broken hand, which again, Sark. Why is he back there?
Yeah.
But this year, I got to see some X. Like, that's what these scouts, you want to be a first-round pick and stuff. Well, the type of player you are, they're going to want you to do a little bit more than pass catching. And if you could return punts at a high rate, because Kool-Aid McKinstry scares the crap out of me. Like, be careful kicking it to him because he's just so dynamic, being 6'1" and, you know, just so athletic, making guys miss. He put, again, Middle Tennessee State, but he put the Crimson Tide in great field position multiple times last week with his punt returns. So you got to get him down if you punt the ball a lot. But yeah, I need more from X. If he's going to return punts, Keelan Robinson, if you're going to return kicks, they got Jordan Whittington back there too. I need more from those guys because the game like this, you need more.
Yep.
You just do.
You need your best players to step up in big games.
Exactly.
Right. Like what's the old saying? Big time players.
Big time and big time games.
That's it. Like Xavier Werde is one of the best players on this Texas roster. He might be the best player on this Texas roster. He's got to step up both as a receiver and as a returner tonight for Texas to pull off the upset. Obviously, some role guys, some other guys are going to have to step up and make some plays. But, you know, the guys that you should be able to count on week in and week out are going to have to play great for Texas to win this game tonight.
And you're Jalen Milroe. This personal. Like, you decommitted from Texas because Quinn Ewers committed. You didn't want that battle.
Nope.
You said, oh, I'm going to reopen, you know, my commitment and, you know, because Quinn Ewers is there. I don't appreciate that. So you wanted to come to Texas. You wish you were here. And Sark left. So Sark could have stayed and said, you know what, I want to be around this guy. Nah, he betrayed you, dog. He dipped to go be with Quinn Ewers, the guy that took your spot.
Yeah.
So what's that mean to you, bro? You coming into this game and everybody's saying Quinn Ewers is the better quarterback and stuff. You haven't really proved anything yet. He's going to want to prove everything in this game. And he's still on the hot seat a little bit. If you go look at that depth chart in the Middle Tennessee game for quarterbacks, it says Jalen Milroe or Tyler Buckner or Ty Simpson.
Oh, the double or.
That's disrespectful.
Oh.
That's a little disrespectful.
It is.
You know? And that's Nick Saban. Nick Saban going to play those mind games with you. This is the same dude that benched Jalen Hurts for Tua in the national championship game. He does not care about your feelings. It's all about winning and getting to the top of, you know, the pedestal again like he once was. So, yeah, man, Jalen Milroe, that bulletin board material, I'm a coach's son. I'm always looking for it. My middle name's Jordan after Michael Jordan. I'm always looking for just that extra, you know, bullseye on the back or that extra motivation that these competitors use and need to give them an edge to win the game. And if Jalen Milroe's not thinking about that, then Texas should win by a lot. If he is thinking about that, Texas could be in trouble.
You weren't cut from your high school team, were you?
No.
Come on. If your pops was looking for motivation, he should have cut you.
I mean, I guess he did. I wasn't on varsity as a freshman, so I guess that's the cut.
That was it.
That was it. But no, I didn't use it like Mike. I didn't have that type of skill or, you know, athleticism that MJ had.
Yeah, not very many of us do.
Yeah.
Not very many of us do. How about Bucky's 3 keys to victory? Obviously, no Bucky today. He's a little bit under the weather. The Buck will be back soon. But the 3 keys to victory brought to you by our friends at Hat Creek Burger Company. I'll bring these up, Zay. Number 1, keep Quinn Ewers healthy.
Yeah.
I mean, my God, I don't have to tell any Texas fan what happened to the quarterback the last 2 times Texas has played Alabama. Like, can we please get through a half of football with the starting quarterback on the field. Like, can I at least ask for that? I want all 4 quarters, but can we at least get through a half of football where the starting quarterback for the University of Texas stays on the field against the University of Alabama? Protect Quinn Ewers, keep him upright. The O-line's got to be a lot better than what it was last week. That's number 1. Number 2, we've talked about it a lot. Contain Jalen Milroe, right? Just contain that dude. Turn him into a passer. Don't let him take off and run. And I just saw this stat a moment ago, Zay, and this isn't just a quarterback run stat, but this is an important stat. All of Texas's 12 losses in the last 2 seasons have come when the opponent has surpassed 140 yards rushing. In 20 of the Longhorns' 24 losses in the last 5 seasons, opponents have ran more than 140 yards. Like that's kind of the number right there. I know most people talk about 100 yards, and obviously you want to hold Alabama under 100 yards, but the magic number for Texas has been 140 yards. Jalen Milroe might be the leading rusher for Alabama tonight if Texas's game plan isn't sound and the defense isn't sound and guys aren't doing what they're supposed to do. You've got to find a way to contain Jalen Milroe and turn him into a pocket passer. And then number 3, got to win the turnover battle. Simple as that. Like, Texas can maybe, Zay, turn the ball over 1 time and win this game tonight. If we're talking about a crooked number of giveaways for this Texas offense, unless the Texas defense is taking the ball away a bunch from Alabama, they got no shot. Like, they've got to win the turnover battle. They can't turn the ball over multiple times and expect to win. This is not just a Texas thing. This is not just an Alabama thing. This is a football thing. The team that wins the turnover margin wins games way more often than not. That one's kind of Captain Obvious, but for me, those are my 3 keys. Keep your quarterback upright, contain their quarterback in the run game, and win the turnover battle. Texas does all 3 of those things. They might walk out of Bryant-Denny with the W tonight.
Yeah, they definitely should. I mean, keeping Quinn Ewers clean. We've talked about that a lot today on this pregame show. Like, that performance that this offensive line showed last week against Rice, just unacceptable for what you're trying to accomplish for the rest of the season. Unacceptable for all these guys that came back. I get it. DJ Campbell, he's now in the starting lineup, but you basically had all 5s come back, including Cole Hudson, who we should see tonight. You can't have that type of performance again. Like Quinn Ewers, if he has that clean pocket, then he should be able to make all the throws, and hopefully he takes what the defense gives him. But you got to give him that chance. And there's been times throughout his young career he hasn't had that chance, and that's resulted into a lot of incompletions and just not putting the ball where it needs to be. So Quinn Ewers staying clean tonight and healthy is very important for the Longhorns' success. And yeah, man, Jalen Milroe, that guy, he has the potential to be great, but he isn't that yet. We don't know that yet. So he's going to have to prove a lot, and that's throwing the football. You're going to have a lot of guys in the box. Ethan Berg, I know people have been talking about this is his legacy game. I don't know about all that, but he's going to have to be good. Barrett Sorrell, he's going to have to be good. When they go into that C gap, A and B, I don't think they want them problems. Trevondre Sweat and Byron Murphy and Alfred Collins, I don't think they want those problems, which for Bo Davis's defensive line and what Pete Kwiatkowski should do at times, especially with how they want to run it. I want to see more of those big guys out there. I want to see, Alfred Collins as an edge rusher, maybe Trevondre Sweat at times, like mix it up, especially if those edge rushers are struggling, like mix it up a little bit. Trill Carter out there, like just bigger packages in different situations, especially if they go to that 12-man formation and have a lot of tight ends out there for Tommy Reese's offense. So yeah, like Jalen Milroe, keep him contained, and then turnovers, man. Like Jalen Milroe has that ball, we're going after it.
Yep.
Like Charles Woodson style, or maybe Peanut Tillman punches in there. Let's like anything, get the ball back. They've made a point of emphasis of that all off season with Pete Kwiatkowski. Not enough turnovers. You were one of the best teams in the nation last year on getting pressures on the quarterback, but you couldn't bring him down. They couldn't bring him down. It just didn't happen. Yeah. Like you got to bring the quarterback down, and you can't let him go crazy. And I like those 3 points in the game. If you do all of those, then yeah, they should be in a good situation to leave Bryant-Denny Stadium with a dub.
Well, they did bring Bryce Young down one time in his own end zone, but they didn't. The refs decided to call it something else.
That's true.
Ridiculous.
That's true.
Bucky's 3 keys to victory, done by BK. We look the same. I guess. Brought to you by our friends at Hat Creek Burger Company. Hey, Hat Creek celebrating their 15th birthday all month long. They're giving out commemorative cups to all drink orders throughout the month of September. You guys know Hat Creek incredibly well. They started as a food truck behind Star Bar on West 6th back in 2008. Since then, they have continued to grow. They've got 26 locations all across the state of Texas, most of them in Austin, but they're in Dallas, they're in Houston, they're in San Antonio, they're in Temple, they're in Waco. They are all over the place. Great burgers, great fries, fantastic milkshakes too, and just a great experience every time you go in there. Many thanks to our friends at Hat Creek Burger Company for sponsoring our Texas Sports Unfiltered pre- and post-game coverage.
Yeah, I don't know if CeCe's been to Hat Creek because he's still having PTSD from Drew Gresson and Brad Buckman dominating my Bulldogs back to those Westlake days.
He refuses to support anything Drew does because
yeah, man, those dudes, that was a tough tandem right there. That pick and roll game, Drew was nice, man.
Yeah,
Drew was nice.
It's unfair that both of those guys were on the same high school team
what?
at the
Like,
same
what are we
time.
doing?
Yeah,
isn't this a football school? Like, what's going on?
Yeah,
like, come on now.
Yeah. Can't have that.
Jeez, man, those chaperones.
Your pops had to go up against a lot of talented cats over the last few decades,
man.
It's
Yes.
a good team.
Yes, he did. If he had hair, that thing would be great.
One last scoreboard update before we get to our predictions for Texas and Alabama, as we have just over 10 minutes left in our Texas Sports Unfiltered pregame show. Scoreboard update brought to you by our friends at Moonshine Patio Bar and Grill. We are into the second half in Miami. The Hurricanes lead the Aggies 28-20 in that one. It's been pretty tough and tight throughout. Oklahoma is underway against SMU. The Sooners already out to a 7-0 lead against the Ponies up there in Norman. Ole Miss has retaken a lead against Tulane, 20-17 to score in that one, early stages of the fourth quarter in New Orleans. Number 2, Michigan, all over UNLV, 35-0 early in the fourth quarter there. Some games that are final from earlier today. Utah goes into Waco, picks up 2 final minute touchdowns. I should say 2 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes. And they knock off Baylor 20-13. The final score there. Baylor now 0-2 on the season. Notre Dame over NC State 45-24. Kansas State over Troy 42-13. And Colorado, Coach Prime, improves to 2-0 with a 36-14 victory over the Nebraska Corn Huskers. Shout out to a couple of our winners, by the way. We are giving away a couple of Hat Creek Burger Company gift cards. Bruce 7 is one of the winners of that today, and Johnny Lambert, the other winner of our giveaways for those Hat Creek Burger Company gift cards. Thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you all for liking the video. Thank you guys for commenting as well. If I called your name, please reach out, DM me on Twitter at Brad Kellner, or DM us on Twitter at TS Unfiltered, so you can find a way to claim your prize and get into contact with me. But I will send those to you guys. So thank you all for your support. Thank you for watching our Texas Sports Unfiltered pre-game show. All right, Zay, the moment of truth. Got 8 minutes left. It's time for our scoreboard prediction, brought to you by Paul's Motorworks. Texas, Alabama, a little over 30 minutes away from kickoff. The Crimson Tide, a 7.5-point favorite. We've been talking about this game since the advent of Texas Sports Unfiltered, of course. But every Longhorn fan has been talking about this game pretty much for a full year since the game went final in Austin last September. It's finally here. Number 11, Texas. Number 3, Alabama. Can the Longhorns get it done tonight? Who wins, and what's the final score?
I think the team that gets over 25 points wins the game. I think both defenses are more proven than both offenses. And when it comes to that, I trust coaching more. And I know Texas fans, that's hard to hear, but that guy on the side for the Crimson Tide, he's proven, and he's going to take what the defense gives you. We know that for a fact. On the Texas side, we don't. Like, Sark hasn't shown enough at times in games like this. Specifically, you just shouted out the record, 3-7 in away games?
3-6.
3-6, excuse me.
Yep.
Well, I hope it's not 3-7. But what I'm saying is 3-7, basically. But yeah, 3-6, just that's hard for me to swallow. That's hard for me to just fathom, and going into this game and giving this Horns team all the confidence to win it. I think the roster is good enough to win it. The players, good enough to win it. I think they have enough dogs there. But when it comes to coaching, Like, they were getting stopped on 4th down against Rice last
Yeah.
week. Like, that scares the crap out of me. Going back to the offensive line, there's just too many question marks there. And again, that defense for Alabama, even though they got some unproven guys, they still got dudes like Otis is a dog down there, man. He had a really good freshman year, and he's looking to have a really good sophomore season that just got highlighted by Will Anderson. But they got a lot of guys. Dallas Turner, we saw what he did last year. We've been talking about Kool-Aid McKinstry all day. They're going to make life hell, or try to make life hell. And if Sark gets into that, I'm just going to look for deep shots mostly. I'm not going to calm Quinn down. I'm not going to give him the easy stuff. If giving up on running the football, which I've seen way too much of, I can't trust that going into this game. I want to. Please believe me, I want to, Texas fan. I want to trust it. I wanted to wake up out of bed like you, feeling optimistic, feeling good. I had that. I did not have that feeling at all. I woke up in a cold sweat. Like, damn, this could get real. This could get real tonight. And Bryant Downey Stadium, those fans, like, it's gonna be ruckus, man. So those fans, they're gonna give them the advantage. I got the Crimson Tide 24-21.
All right, so Texas covers, but Alabama wins.
Yes.
Okay, Trey. You don't have a microphone in front of you, so I guess you're going to have to yell out your prediction. You've been pretty confident all week long about the Longhorns' chances going into this one. How you feeling right now? Time for the moment of truth. Your prediction for Texas, Alabama. Alabama 14, Texas 35. Whoa. Why'd you list Alabama score first? What? 35-14?
I love it.
3-touchdown win for Texas?
I love it.
Oh, my God. We know what Trey's been doing the last 2 hours, just guzzling burnt orange Kool-Aid mixed with Everclear.
Drink it out, Trey. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, my God. Let's not do that. Thankfully, it's not on camera for y'all to see. Oh, my God. It's disgusting. Well, I'm glad Trey's the optimistic one. I'm not glad he just did that. I did tell you, Zay, I woke up feeling confident, but my confidence is not enough to pick Texas to win this game. I've shifted from Alabama winning this game by multiple scores to I think this is a one-score game that is pretty tough and tight throughout. But I've got the Crimson Tide winning this one 27-23. You said it, man. Like, the home field advantage, I think, makes a difference, but I think the biggest edge. We talked about the personnel and how Phil Steele actually thinks Texas is better in more spots than Alabama is this year, and I couldn't tell you the last time that's been the case when comparing these two programs, but just the biggest discrepancy between these two teams is at head coach. And until I see it from Sark, and I hope this is the night where I do see it from Sark, but until I see it from Sark, I can't pick him to do this against Nick Saban, a guy who's only lost 5 home games in the last 15 years, a guy who is currently holding the longest non-conference winning streak in the history of college football, a guy who, yes, has lost a couple of games to assistants now. Remember, he was undefeated against his former assistants for a long, long time. Well, his 2 losses against assistants did not come at Alabama. He's undefeated at home against his former assistant coaches. I'm going to side with history, man. I know a lot of those numbers don't have anything to do with this year's game and this year's teams, but I don't like betting against Nick Saban, and I don't like betting against Alabama at home. And I don't have the cajones to make the pick of Texas. So I'm going Alabama 27, Texas 23. Thank God Trey's here to talk us off the ledge a little bit and give people some confidence that maybe Texas has a chance. Quick shout out to our sponsor for our scoreboard prediction. I don't know if they want to sponsor us picking Alabama, but hey, Paul's Motor Works, they're the best. They've been providing complete foreign and domestic automotive repair in Austin since 2000. These guys have been around for a long time, big-time Texas fans. They do phenomenal work. They specialize in BMW, Mini Cooper, Mercedes, Audi, Volkswagen, and Porsche, but they do so much more than that. Look, it's where I go to get my oil changed for my Nissan. Like, if you need basic car maintenance, they've got you. But once again, if you drive one of those nicer whips and you need some repairs done, they've got you covered at Paul's Motor Works. Don't trust your car to anyone. Trust it to the great people at PMW. Go to their website, pmwaustin.com, for more information. All right, so 2 of us have Alabama. Trey's got Texas over Alabama tonight. Where are you watching this game, man? You watching at home? Where are you going?
No, because I have Spectrum, so I'm not watching at home. Gotta go to mom's and pops and watch it over there, which that would be fun. I haven't watched a big time game with them probably since I was a teenager. So yeah, it'll be a little nostalgic for me. How about you?
Are they gonna yell?
No, they're cool.
Are you gonna yell?
I might.
You're one of those?
Yeah,
yell
I
at the
might.
TV?
Yeah.
This is one of those games. Every game it's okay, but this is one of those games.
This is one of those games.
It's almost a problem if you're not yelling at your TV, I think. Going over to a buddy's place. They've got a little birthday deal going on tonight, but thankfully they'll have the game on, and I will not be talking to anybody. I'll be watching the game. Like, part of me is mad, like, should I even be going, or should I just stay at home? Because I might be a problem at this party.
Just ruin the birthday.
Yeah. I'll try to avoid doing that, but no, going to celebrate with one of my friends, and should be a good crew and a lot of Texas fans, and I know the game will be on, so we'll be okay. All right, that's going to do it for our Texas Sports Unfiltered pregame show. A reminder, Trey and Kevin will have the postgame show right after the game goes final tonight, right here on Texas Sports Unfiltered. They'll be taking your text. They'll be taking your YouTube comments on the Clean Cause YouTube comment line. They will have you covered. So make sure you're subscribed to this channel so you don't miss out on that. Make sure you like this video as well if you haven't yet. We really do appreciate y'all's continued love and support of Texas Sports Unfiltered. Thanks to all of our great sponsors: Clean Cause, Verdes Mexican Parrilla, Kenfield Golf Cars, Hat Creek Burger Company, Moonshine Patio Bar and Grill, and Paul's Motor Works. Most importantly, thanks to y'all for tuning in. For Trey Elling behind the scenes, for Zay Collier, I am BK Brad Kellner. Once again, post-game show after the game, and then, of course, the full lineup of shows starting on Monday on Texas Sports Unfiltered. Till next time, y'all stay safe, y'all stay healthy, and hook 'em.